welcome, welcome,
Yeah.
MV, for joining me here. I had a chance this morning for me, to watch your broadcast yesterday. I hadn't had a chance to, where you're doing your draft research. I found it fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it offline a lot, and I just wanted to just see if anyone was interested. I saw you and Ken post something, and a few people looked at it at the time. Yeah, I just find it fun. It's actually just fun to just do on your own. So he's just playing
Yes.
around. I've got a few moments, while I'm at work. Sometimes I say, right, 1935, because as the more I do it, the more I remember certain players from certain eras. Clue did it with me online as well yesterday. So I was calling out the years while he was in the chat, and he was coming back. So it's good practice. Yeah.
Yeah, putting yourself on the hot seat. And so it got me thinking today, because I was messing around just a little bit this morning trying to figure out a plan of how, I think you called them the hidden jewels at one point that are there. And in this league, there are a couple of ways that you could have a hidden jewel, right? It's a great season and a non Hall of Famer,
Big
which are
time.
great to have because we only have that five Hall of Fame limit. But then I was thinking,
Big
yeah,
time.
how do I aggregate all of my stuff in a way where I can have it organized? So I watched you, and you have the baseball history collection. I
I
saw
did
you, and
indeed.
you're using the actual files you have for the game as your resource. Is that right?
Well, I have a saying: work smarter, not harder. So
Mm.
I use the so I use the collection because I used the entire whole of history of baseball, and therefore, as soon as the year comes, I'll click it on. I can see, because think about it. If you take the approach of using your knowledge, you're going to do well. But the game is really what you really want to be looking at, because the ratings are what Dave has rated. That's what I go with. So I did that with the
Yes.
Ned McGreevy. I wasn't doing it on reputation. I was
Yeah.
doing it on what is actually in the game. For example, I didn't know that uh, Art Devlin was a 10 until I actually looked at him in the game. I thought, yep, he'll do on my bench. He'll be a defensive replacement.
Yeah.
That often makes the difference. Yeah,
That's a great point. If you do have the game, you can go right into it and see, for example, how the game's going to rate them for their defense.
exactly.
And I think that may be a little harder to discern based on the year we pick, like from Baseball Reference, right? You get
That's
Roger
right.
Hornsby, and I had, well, let's put out Ted Kluszewski in 54. I'm like, oh, I want him, not even thinking of his fielding. And I'm
Exactly.
surprised to learn that he was actually rated a 9 that year. So, I'm trying to figure out how I might factor in some knowledge around that. So I'm trying to figure out how do I maybe assemble an Excel draft sheet that would let me go. You're laughing because I know you have one.
Steve, if I have a book, I have a spreadsheet, I have a notepad. And my first approach with the one, not the Ned McGreevy, because that was a completely different setup. Although, I did have a strategy behind it and it worked. But I first went online, did a lot of research on who are the best players not in the Hall of Fame, right? That makes sense, logical sense. So I came up with about 100 players initially, went onto another website and came up with 300.
Wow.
But funny enough, never got Jack Glasscock. He never came up. And he should be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. He is. I'm even considering changing the name of my team to the Manchester Glasscocks. Because I
And
love him
most
so
people,
much.
if you don't know this, I think MV was destiny. He is
It
from
was.
and
It's
also buried in
Virginia.
West Virginia.
I only found that out this morning. I said, Steve's got to hear this one. That is so funny. If anyone not in on the joke, I'm not from Cardiff. I'm from West Virginia.
Yeah.
And to see my best player at the moment, my true love, I fall in love with quite a few of these players, but Jack Glasscock is definitely one of them.
If anybody
And he's
never heard
19th
that
century.
broadcast, I just made a comment one time. It just struck me as funny that we think you're over in Cardiff, and and I'm like, yeah, he's probably not. He's probably just hiding out in some little
In West
place, a cabin
Virginia.
in West Virginia in the hills or something. And
I love it.
that got legs somehow and really has taken
Oh,
off.
I never forget it. Never forget that one. And when I saw it today, I did have a. There's another thing as well. Like, how about when you got a stadium? I use Ebbets Field. I use it in Ned McGreevy. I use it in the Howie Shanks
Oh
Bingo
yeah.
League. So I was thinking today, thinking, well, wouldn't it make sense to then draft more Brooklyn Dodgers? But then the real history, as in the successful history of the Brooklyn Dodgers, doesn't really take place until the late 30s, early 40s, right up until 1956. But then, if I focus on drafting their Hall of Famers, if they come up, there's not that many Hall of Famers from that period. There's about maybe 9 players that are Hall
Yeah.
of Famers. But then, because I know how they perform in that stadium, it should make it a little easier for me to draft. I don't think I did too badly in the end with the team I had in the bingo, Howie Shanks Bingo League. Once I tinkered with the AI, they started to
Well,
perform the way I want to.
let me ask you this question: how have you
Hmm.
used the what if? Because I'm going to go over to the what if.
Yes,
I've got our
I did.
bingo. I've got the bingo league up, the one that was kind of our trial
Yeah,
run and everything.
I like that
And,
one.
and to me, this is a great tool
It's great.
to
I
try
use
to
it.
figure out. Now, we're going to get to pick our park later. This is really probably strategy for after the draft, wouldn't you think? So now we're trying to figure out what park are we going to put our team in, and you definitely want to look at your strengths. So let's say here, who do we got? Let's look at the. Yep,
Well, you would if
you're
you
in the
were a
bingo.
GM. If you were a GM in a brand new league, an owner actually, you
Yeah,
would start with the ballpark, wouldn't you? You think
you
this is the
bet.
type of baseball I want to play.
So
Let's
here's
go to the
Manchester.
pitch.
Here's some of your. There's Jack Glasscock right there, straight up. But now let's take him and put him in Ebbets.
Yeah,
And let's say what would be a year? We'll just pick a year.
I think I picked 55 because that was the year they won.
Ebbets Field, and then we'll say 1955, right? So after you've got your
Yeah,
team assembled, let's see if this helps or hurts any of these players
it definitely helps the
based on.
pitchers and O'Doul as well. And O'Doul played exceptionally well.
So Lou Gehrig gets a little. He goes from 41 to
A
42
batting
home
point,
runs and a higher average. Look, he gets his average
massive,
increased. Yeah,
and he does perform very well. In fact, his home runs, I figure that he's on the road half the time, so it's still going to be good. And Lou
yeah.
Gehrig did hit. I don't know what he hit in your league, what he did, but he did pretty well.
But for people that haven't messed with this is a great feature to figure out
Oh, it's
when
awesome.
players move to different park, how it might affect them. Well, I want to, if you'd be willing, I'm going to test out because
Yeah,
I'm like, how much do it? Because I find it interesting and I don't mind sharing some of the thoughts around the draft. And I think
yeah,
it's
sure.
interesting to find out what you look for. Like, let's say, for example, and I'll do this up.
I've got
I'm,
many theories, Steve. We could be here all day.
so here's a theory. Let's say we're doing this draft and I'm going to have you walk us through thing right here. I'm like the
Sure.
host here today and I'm going to say, okay, here is the season. It's going to be 1938. So
Right.
I'm going to pull up the file here and you can walk me through what you do. So I've got 1938
Mhm.
up.
Yeah.
You're going to go to reports.
Yeah. So if I was drafting from this year, from
Oh,
only 1938, right? So I would go to reports, go to players, then I'd
and
go to batting,
okay.
go to batting. Yeah. And this is how I did the Ned McGreevy, by the way, because I had the history collection.
Oh, and
Although
yeah.
although I did it from the draft screen, not this screen, but it's
Okay.
similar. So I click on rating and value on the
Okay.
bottom left, and I click on position. So the bottom left of the page,
That's perfect.
can you see it? Yeah.
Yep. Now we
And
have
I'll
the
also
rating
do
and value.
position. Right. So there you go. Because sometimes I can put at bats on, but I don't want to complicate it. Then I'd go to value first. Yep. So I already know that Hank Greenberg has got the highest salary, so allegedly
Yeah.
everything's set up for
He's
him to be the
probably the
best
best. And
player.
if you look at all these other key indicators, hit the
Yeah.
home runs, OPS is one that I look at a lot. You can see
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
some value there, and that value also
Interestingly, yeah.
includes their fielding is
Exactly.
blended into that.
Exactly. So I already know that the best OPS, just looking at that one, would be Jimmy Fox. So then it's a case of, okay, Hank Greenberg or Jimmy Fox, who bats left, who bats right? Abbott's Field is for the lefties, you get a bump and also that particular year, I think. I reckon that Jimmy Fox and Hank Greenberg will get a bump on their batting average as opposed to their home run hitting, which won't be affected too much. Just based on the era and based on them, I think Greenberg is a right-handed hitter. Is that right? And Jimmy Fox might have been a
Yep.
left. So I have to make a decision, which also comes back into my roster because I'm thinking, well, do I platoon people? What approach do I take? I take the Earl Weaver approach because I'm a big fan of Earl Weaver. They've got to be on base. They've got to be off, got to have some defense, and my bench has got to have some offense on it as well. And I
Wow.
don't mind sacrificing a pace of offense on my main starters for some defense. Luckily, in the teams we're drafting, you're always going to have offense because there's just so many great players offensively. So
Wow.
Hank Greenberg or Jimmy Fox would be my immediate thing. But then I look a bit deeper. Charlie Gehringer would come into it a little bit, second baseman, good offense. But then I'd also look down the line and say, who's not in the Hall of Fame? Dolph Camilli, not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll be looking down the list to see does anyone stand out. I already know Harlan Clift is a great third baseman in my estimation. Will he do well in this type of league? He did every time I played with him. In fact, he wasn't even on my team. I think he was on Mudville. Harlan
Yeah.
Clift, number 13. Yeah. So I would look through those first. But ultimately, if this is my first pick, to take Greenberg off the table for, say, the likes of yourself, who might be drafting at the same time, I'm thinking, you know what? He's too good to leave on the table anyway. Take Greenberg. So I'll take Green. What was he, lefty or righty?
He's a righty. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody that's a lefty will have the asterisk.
All right, yeah. Okay, so I would go with, again, look at the strikeouts because I don't want to, they're not like the 90s players. I would go with probably Jimmy Fox of the two. And then again, I look at his defense. Yeah. He's got a better on base percentage, which I value very highly. And he would probably be the better of the two. Defensively, I imagine Greenberg's better than Fox. Can you have a look into it? Just have a quick look. There's another way of looking at this screen that's even better.
You can just click right on the player card. So take a look at Greenberg. We look at him. He's a 5 at first. And let's see what Fox is. A 3.
Well, so then I'm going to go a little deeper and think maybe I don't need the first baseman. Maybe I'll go down to Melot. But there's a better way of looking at this, Steve, actually. I just remembered. If you come out of this and go into defense instead of hitting, so go back to the reports. It might be easier to see it this way because there is, in the neighborhood, go to the same reports, but defense this time or fielding.
Okay. So you go to expanded batting and you can just scroll right here and you can hit fielding.
Yeah. And you can do it that way, or there's an even better way. If you come out of this screen altogether.
Okay.
There's another way I found. Definitely use it in Ed McGreevy. Come out of that one altogether. So it's got so many different options to look at. If you go into the same reports, a little up, a bit more, up to the top row.
Okay.
So reports, and then your cursor's not moving. Oh, yeah, there you go. Players, yep. But this time, go to fielding. See, underneath database pitching, you see fielding. Go to the right. There you go. This should, now, in this particular case, you might need to refresh because you've got fielding minimum 1 game at pitcher. I just noticed that. So take that off.
All right.
You've got
say none. I'm going to have to say none.
None, yeah, that's it. And also the fielding, take that off on the right-hand side. That's perfect. None. And then on the right, take off fielding shortstop and make it just fielding all. That's it.
Is there a fielding all? I haven't seen that.
Oh,
fielding range. There we go.
Yeah, that's it. Or whichever one you want to use.
Fielding range. That's the one. Because I think that'll just show all of the positions here.
That's it. And then
now you can see their value, and then you can just start searching.
That's the one I used in the Ed McGreevy. That's exactly how I did it. So then I looked at rating on value. There you go. So now I've got better choices to look at. Yeah, giving away all my trade secrets here. But go to value. Left. There you go. Sort it by value. So click on value. There you go. So now it's easy to read because now I can see, right, best players. Charlie Gehringer's a good one. He's a 7 second baseman.
Well, the nice thing here too is you can see all that. Then you can go right here. And if you wanted to really dig into a pit, you could actually pull up the card and get even deeper with the player right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just by clicking on it. Okay.
So the ones that stand out for me, and what about you? But I would say Archie Vaughan, because he can play shortstop. And according to Beatles, is the second best shortstop of all time. Charlie
Okay.
Gehring just now stand more than Jimmy Fox and Hank Greenberg. So now I place my emphasis on defense.
You know what I
So
found,
Luke is in there
MV
as well.
though?
I probably
Right,
take.
right now I'm finding though. Here's my dilemma. Right,
Yeah,
right
yeah,
away when we went, we headed right down the trail for hitters. Right.
yeah.
That's the problem. It's hard. We can't. There's no easy way, really. I found. Am I looking for a hitter or a pitcher? Right? Because
Well, there's a theory behind that.
okay,
So the question you're asking, as you rightly are asking, which one contributes to win more? Is it one ace, two aces, three aces, or three-star hitters, three-star hitters, or four-star hitters? And I've come to the conclusion, this is just my conclusion, that I would probably stock three aces on my pitching, which is going to be easy pretty much in this league. But I'd probably go for four offensive type players. They say pitching wins games, but I have statistical data that says this is just me, my madness, Steve. I'm madder than you. I'm madder than you. I'm really. I heard your broadcast when Beatles said, "I'm worried about MV."
oh, you got to watch it. We were because we knew that you were spending. You were when they. I heard that you'd come on to talk about the draft. I said, "Oh, he's
Oh
deep.
yeah.
He's deep in research
Oh,
now."
I'm deep. Beatles dragged me online and said, "You got to speak." So I would say, in this particular case, yeah, I would look at the pitching in that 5 minute period. I would be looking at this screen and the picture one as well.
Now, here's the
So
thing.
that's
How do you prioritize? Because I have yet to see. It's almost like in my brain, if somebody fires a year out, I'm trying to think, am I going hitter or pitcher from because I'm as you pointed out on your broadcast, there's going to be some stress because other people could have similar
God, yeah,
years that are
yeah.
close. And you can't equally head down a pitching and hitting path researching. You've got to go one and then the other.
I would literally go like this: 1938 on that screen, hitters. I know Greenbergs and Fox are great hitters, but am I going to get a great hitter who's great defensively? Charlie Gehringer, yes. Lou Gehrig, possibly, but that would be Gehrig's last year, wouldn't it? And I imagine this is the year before he got sick.
And
Yes, I am correct,
now I
isn't it?
just hit pitchers. And if we just select
Yes,
pitchers here and then go to value, boom. Now you're
yes,
getting to see,
yep,
okay, Bob Feller, is this
yep.
so this is a
So the
good
pitch,
way to toggle back and
yeah,
forth just
yeah,
here.
yeah. Uh, yeah, I said, and also you don't just have to do it by value. You can do, so we know Ross Barrows is a good defensive pitcher, but I wouldn't necessarily pick him my first pick. If you go to rating, the one beside the value column, so you don't need a spreadsheet. So you just use this, and I promise you, this is exactly how I did in Edinburgh Greavy. I think that's why I had the edge because everyone, and also
Yeah.
there you go. So is Dizzy Dean worth it? Probably not. We're not drafted by
He's got a high
salary,
rating but a low value, which means he probably
low
doesn't have a
value.
lot of innings pitched.
Exactly. That's a good point. So that makes it really simple. I won't be drafting any pitchers from that year.
MV, what if I'm going to test something out if you're game.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And I want to test my theory. And I'm not going to show you what I'm doing because I might have a spreadsheet or a notepad. And what I like to do is when I tell you, I want you to just pick a year, I guess, or you could throw a
Okay.
randomizer and then just fire a
Yeah,
thing
let's
at
do
me.
that. Let's
And
do that.
I'm going to see how quick I can name who I
Gotcha.
would take, and then we can come into here and research to see if that
Yeah.
fast pick was actually something that the stats warrant. How's
Yeah,
that
let's have a
sound?
look. Yeah, it's perfect. I'll throw you a year. Let me
Okay,
go
so
into
hold on a
my.
second. I gotta let me let
Is
me
it from
fire up the.
1876? Yeah, fire it up. You got to have that ready. Is it 1876?
Is that
Starting
our?
year.
Oh, are we gonna go with that? I thought
Oh,
we
no.
did 1880 before.
I did 1880 last night, so 1880 to 2022, right?
All right, so hold on
Okay, you
one
tell me
second.
when
Let
you're
me
ready.
make sure.
This is great fun. That's what I did at home, just messing around, because work's so boring at the moment. It's like, yeah, if everyone's at work, like, what's wrong with Mark? I got really quiet at work.
Okay,
At lunchtime, no one can get hold of me. Right, here we go. Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready. Give me the year.
Okay, so get my generator out. 1 second. When did I just had it. 1 second. Here we go. So here's the first year coming at you. 1891.
Dan
1890.
Bruthers.
See, in my head, that's exactly what would come up, Dan Bruce, but not just Dan Bruthers, though.
So let's go take a
Uh,
look. Okay.
But you already have him ready. Good. I see. I
Okay,
see where you're.
see, let's go look though.
Yeah, yeah.
1831,
18. No, not 31. 91.
1881, 1891. Boy, I'm
What?
really messed
91.
up.
Yeah.
So let's go to
So
1891.
that tells me you've got a spreadsheet right there.
And let me go to the database and let's see. And what do we? Well, we've got your value and the field. I like this one here, so we can go right away to value
Yeah,
hitters or batters.
yeah. And it's on the fielding one, right? Yeah, that's how I did it. So straight away, you picked Bruthers from your own knowledge, I'd imagine, and your own research, right? Okay, so I definitely won't be picking Amos Russi, even though he's got great value. He's probably pitched a lot of innings. I don't like pitchers from that era at all because Cy Young burned me. They're sliding Billy. I would probably have on my mind straight away Pop Shriver, probably as a backup catcher immediately.
I'm also not seeing Dan Bruther. So could it be? Oh, here's another interesting thing. This is going to be
Yeah,
an issue, MV.
yeah, yeah.
1881. Remember, with we're looking at all leagues, correct? And isn't there in the baseball history collection? See these American and Union associations?
We could choose from them. I mean, it did say we could. So this, let me just check the year I did actually, just make sure I got the right year on my generator. It said 1891. Now he should. Did
Okay.
Bruthers play up to that point? I think he did.
Well, let's go take a look at him over here and see what's going on. Some of those are tricky years if you're trying to search.
Yeah,
So 1891. Yeah,
yeah.
look at Dan Bruthers right here.
He played.
He played. He did 350. He led the league in average and OPS.
Okay. I know he wasn't a great fielder. That much I do know.
If I look at
Because I,
another list that I can that I have access, I'm just trying to test my theories
yeah, sure.
out. I think this is fun. So 18.
91.
Okay, that would have.
He played for Boston. It looks like he's not got any. He's got some black ink there. He's got some great on base percentage. I think I had him anyway that same
But he was
year.
in the American Association 1891.
Ah, so that's why. That's why he doesn't show up in this one. But we can choose him.
Yes. Interesting.
So
Okay.
now that you've just brought that point up, I'll make sure that my association is also loaded up, which it is. But I wouldn't have naturally have gone to that. I would have gone to the AL, the National League, or the American League. I mean, I don't know if there's a ruling on this at all
No,
about
it's we throw a year
saying
out and you go do
that's
your
it.
research and tell us who you want.
Yes, you gave me a little tip there.
Okay,
Thank you,
now
Steve.
we're getting ready. So let's give me another year. Let's
Right. Okay. Okay. That was interesting,
okay.
though. You got something out of that one.
Okay.
Next year coming up is random generator. Where are you? 1953. I already know who I would pick from that year. I already know Al Rosen was good. Ken Keltner was also there as well.
Yeah,
We've got
Al Rosen if I don't want a Hall of Famer, Eddie Matthews if I do.
yeah, there you go. See, straight away I knew that, and I'm not grown up with the history, but I knew that was a great year for Al Rosen. I'm sure it was.
It was. All right, give me another one.
Okay. Where are my generators? He's messing around on my screen. Right, here we go.
Mhm.
1896. That's the bad year for Cy Young. I know that.
If it was a batter, I'm going to go Ed Delahanty.
There you go.
And 1896. And if it's a pitcher, I'm going to go Kid Nichols.
Yeah. Hello,
So
Aaron.
let's
You're
see.
there.
So let's
Aaron's in the
see.
room.
Let's see how I did. So what is that? And what was that? That took me what, 20 seconds?
Yeah.
That's pretty
But
fast.
but was it the right choice? Go into the
Oh,
report and just see. You think it's the right
yes,
choice?
1896. Let's see.
Okay, let's imagine we're both. I mean, let me just imagine myself doing 1896. Could you bring up the report and let's see if a look? Aaron's in the house.
You
Aaron
bet.
Reid.
Hey, Aaron. We're practicing draft and testing out approaches here. This is the scientific laboratory here. So here's batters. Let's say there's Kid Nichols and Cy Young, right? when it comes, because I guess they count as batters too. So sometimes they might show just on this. They're
Cy
okay.
Young is a non-starter for me, as you well know.
Yeah.
He's not. He's
So
not
you would
happening.
have gone Cy Young. I said Delahanty or Kid Nichols, and that looks like they're right there.
But again, I would go with Bill Dallin, not a Hall of Famer. Good shortstop. Done. Probably the best shortstop in the top 10 right there. In fact, the best field in the top 10. So there's a difference straight away because I value, and I've played with Bill. He's got power as well, if I remember correctly.
Ah,
He's got power. I
yes.
mean, if it was
Bad Bill
Ken probably
Dolan.
would. Yeah, Bad Bill Dallin's got power.
Now let's try this. Fire a. Are you ready to do this? Throw a year out there random and let us both go do a little bit of
Yeah,
research and see who we come back with.
with the same year, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just pick a year.
Okay.
Let me know what you got. And
1958.
okay.
My mind immediately just to Willie Mays. Let's have a look. Let's have a quick look at my report. I just have to install 1958. 1 second. So the clock is ticking.
1958. I would got Mickey Mantle. I'm gonna grab.
Right,
I would go Mantle or Rocky Colavito.
right. Hold on. Let me go in there. Don't knock the rock. Here we go. 1958. My report just took a while to come up on screen. And I'm going to go with, what do you say, fielding, we said. Okay, get rid of the minimum at bat. See, I got to be ready for this.
Or
Right, here we
or
go.
Whitey Ford, right? Mantle and Colavito would be my two, I think.
Okay, so value, here we go. Willie Mays. Ooh. Not sure about Willie Mays. Ernie Banks is in there. Richie Ashburn is in there. Again, I might want to say my Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
It's an interesting position.
So I think I might be considering Rocky Colavito if I didn't want to grab Mantle.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's interesting. I think I've got the wrong screen up right here. Mickey Mantle, Hank Aaron, Ernie Banks. I'll go Jackie Jensen probably.
Interesting.
Jackie Jensen, because what approach you take? You remember you held back for the Hall of Famers, and I think in the end it worked in your favor. Though you didn't get Walter, you could have got anybody because they will come up. But we'd all, I don't know, wasted our picks, but I don't think everybody was looking at their roster, particularly building a roster. They were just going after the best names available, and I've learned from that. So I'm not going to use science,
So
not
let's do
going to
this.
waste a pick.
So you would have gone with Jackie Jensen, maybe? Okay.
Possibly. I'm just looking at his stats now. I haven't got the right report up yet, but I would have gone with him for his 10 outfield arm and his right field. He's an 8 right fielder, not wasting a Hall of Fame pick. He's decent. He's got an OPS of 146. It doesn't matter if he's not a superstar because can he play for my Red Bolts? Yes, that's it. It's not necessarily the best player, but obviously you're taking Willie Mays off the table. That's a great pick, or Mickey Mantle.
No,
Or Hank Aaron.
I actually think I'm just happy with my system that I had two names, Colavito and Mantle, pop up in my program. It popped up in my system right away, so I could get on the ball quick.
Yeah,
And
quicker. Yeah,
I
yeah,
knew.
yeah,
Then now I'm in here looking at Colavito. That's a great year for a non Hall of Famer, 189 OPS. And let's look at Mickey Mantle. I'm trying to figure out why Willie Mays didn't pop up because I'm filtering it by a new thing. Yeah, 186 Mickey Mantle. They're right there. What is Mays showing?
Looking at
160. Okay. This makes me feel good. So Mays OPS plus is 168. It's lower than those other two, which makes me feel good that what I'm valuing, it's just me. We all value different things.
Yeah.
Beatles would be looking to try to get speed and all that. With what I'm trying to value with is I like OPS plus adjusted is trying to take them out of their park settings and all that, figuring out how was that true season. It did what I wanted, which it threw out Mantle and Colavito for me. What it did for me is it gave me that quick before I had to fire up action and start digging into the specifics.
Yeah, you knew exactly. Well, I did when I did the Ned McGreevy, I did have action ready. It was a different database because obviously it was just one database. That's it. Whereas I have to fire up the season for this one to get going. But it's going to take a couple of seconds. I know the kind of report I'm looking for: fielding range, rating value, position. I'm good after that.
My pitcher list
But
would have told me Whitey Ford. In fact, he's the only one it said to look at.
yeah, see, I wouldn't go for Whitey Ford at all. Interesting, there, isn't it?
One
What, you
nine
went for Whitey Ford?
190. Well, I've got a pitcher list and a batter list. So I got the Colavito and Mano real quick. Then I went to my pitcher side and did it. And the only name it spat out to me was Whitey Ford. And, looking at it, 190 ERA plus. So
Hey, what about Sam Jones or Warren Spahn?
141 ERA plus. Because the one thing about action, it's going to add some value, and mixed into that
Yeah,
overall value is it's looking at like if somebody has the same general ratings and they threw more innings, they're going to get a little bit of a bump. If they're batting as a pitcher, as an example, if they had their batting
yeah.
better than the other one, they might get a little bit more value, right? So within that value, it's a good indicator, but there's other pieces that add up to that overall value.
I can't believe that whip for Whitey Ford in 1958 is the lowest whip in the whole thing. That
Okay,
can't be right, surely.
well, let's go over here to this and take a look at seasons. This is another one. I'll share
It
this with
is.
everybody. This
Yeah.
is a great one to go. You come over here when you're doing this draft to 1958 and then just take a look at pitching. And you can go right down here and let's take a look at whip. Whitey Ford, the
Yeah.
number one pitcher in now that's a good whip if you figure out how much home runs were being hit in 1958.
Yeah. I'm going to see if I can pick one, Steve, that you don't have.
What do you mean?
Just give me 1 second. As in, the Whitey Ford one is a good pick. There's no question about that. But I've got a feeling there's a gem here. It'll take me a couple of seconds to look for it,
Okay.
but I will find it. Maybe not in that year, actually. Whitey Ford is the best one. Okay, note for myself. Whitey Ford is. Or if I don't want to choose a Hall of Famer, then
Correct.
that's the trick, isn't it? It's like that's where the
Well,
value is.
the one
I
field I
really want
need
to
to
see.
add to my little program I've created is Hall of Famer or no. That's a filter I don't have, or I need to add that to what I've already been able to put together. But
So
this is
many
also
ways to
helping
look at
me
it.
at work a little bit. I have very basic Excel skills, so some of the stuff I'm doing is also applicable to life in general and other things I might use it for.
Yeah, this is just, I call it mental exercise, mental agility exercises.
It is.
You've got Roy Face, who'll pitch very well. In
Yeah.
relief, it depends how you want to build your team. I mean, I do like Whitey Ford for that season, but I think there are better Hall of Fame picks out there that have
Yep.
got better whips. So again, I can see why you pick Whitey Ford. I definitely wouldn't.
Now, do you
But
know that
that's me.
I'm trying to have a system that gets me a quick who I think I want before I get into the research, so I don't get beat. I think Clue has come up with. I don't even know if you can follow all the. You want to talk about somebody doing research? Clue is really trying to figure out how to have this draft and have all the things allocated, and we all get the green light at the same
Ready.
time. And what he does is he puts some parameters in there where the years will be random, but I don't think any two can be within 5 years of each other or something.
Yeah, well, because there is a chance. I said the other night that you could. I mean, you can do it. You can. I don't know how. You must have a really good random number generator that can stop that happening. But there is a chance that could happen where you get three Mickey Mantles picked from different years,
Yeah.
or three anybody's picked from any different year. It's a rarity, but it can happen. And to stop chaos in the chat, I guess we don't have to have our eyes on the chat at the same time. The one thing that's missing is an overall administrator, like Clue was last time. Although Clue managed to do, because we were doing individually, it was easy for Clue to
Yeah,
do it. But
I can probably try to help him out too with some of the tracking and all that,
yeah,
just so that he doesn't feel
yeah,
like he's in there
yeah, because a lot of pressure to get it right.
by himself. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, but my system, Steve, is varied. I have a notebook, a little basic Excel. I have
You've got sticky notes
sticky
everywhere.
notes. It's like Command Central here, I tell you. You know what I mean? But that's how I see it. I just think it's so much fun. In fact, I have more fun with the draft than I would actually playing the games.
Well, that's
And
what
I
I
love the
think we
games.
talked about is that's another
Yeah,
thing why if we slow down and if everybody had to manage it, man, that drags out throughout the year. If we just
yeah,
had it going where we sim like, a
a month
month,
or so. Yeah, yeah.
every week or something
A
like
month
that,
for a
or
week works perfectly.
Yeah,
perfectly.
we try to get through a whole month of games in a week and all that, and we can come on there throughout the week and just pick some highlight games to broadcast or
Yeah,
whatever. And then,
that's the
then
way
what?
I would.
Every couple of months or whatever, we're doing a draft.
That's exactly, and that's how it should be. I mean, I still think the name McGreevy. I mean, poor Beatles. He's did. I mean, how he did it, I
Oh,
still don't even know. But that was such a great league. It was such a great league in terms of like how he did it. We used the complete collection for that one, I think. No, the
yeah,
history collection,
yeah. It's
which I
based
really
on their
like.
peak. Yeah, it's based on their peak slice. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that was
that's a
really
great
cool.
file too. What?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
let's. I'm curious now. Let's. You up for another?
yeah, of course. I've got
Pick
nothing
a
else to do
random and
today.
throw it at us, and let's see what we both come up
Yeah,
with here.
my team's not playing until tomorrow, so my Manchester United, that is, in the soccer over here.
Hmm.
1898. Good Lord, no. Here we go. 1898. As Aaron imports his APBA stuff. 1898. See, I already know Cupid Charles had a really good season that year. Around that time, he was the best shortstop in baseball, second baseman.
I've got to go. Clark Griffith.
Really?
It would be a. I think it's
A
Clark Griffith.
no-brainer.
Well, yeah, and with my quick look, it's not even like wanting to suggest any hitters to me for that year for some reason. It's
I
saying
would
go
not go
pitcher.
with Clark Griffith.
What's
So let
that?
me ask you this. I wouldn't go
Okay.
with Clark Griffith at all. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Again, 19th century pitchers tend to, from my experience of it, don't seem to stack up. They tend to be hit machines. In 325 innings pitched, he gave up 305 hits. And although it depends on your everything I've seen so far suggests that they won't do very well. I don't know why. It just seems to happen.
Well, let's
It
see.
definitely happened last time.
I'm going to pull up the file here for action. Let's
Yeah,
take a look
yeah.
at what we've got. Let's go to our database here.
Is Clark Griffith a Hall of Famer, by the way?
Um,
I think he might
that's
be.
I haven't added that to my tab, so I think he
I
is a
would go
Hall of
with
Famer.
there
The
you go.
old
I would go
Fox, Clark Griffith.
if it was me,
However,
I would choose Al Mole.
hmm,
Al Mole would be better for me. Less hits, better whip, which makes sense. And not a Hall of Famer. If I was picking a pitcher from that
see,
season,
Kid Nichols is here.
Hall of Famer. He's
But
a Hall of Famer, isn't
my what I'm looking at, okay, okay, let me look
he?
at. I've got another source. So I'm just trying to see if I could get a quick one out to make sure I could be the first one and still live with what my little
Yeah, that might
formulas
be
are
your
telling
downfall,
me.
Steve. That
What?
might be your downfall. Not that I'm putting doubt into your mind, Steve. I'm playing psychological
I
warfare.
know you are. Let's see. You might be too married to your system, is what you're telling me. Let's see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Now let me search a minute. Oh, now if we go by my whip analysis, it tells me Kid Nichols. If I'm looking at my adjusted
Yeah.
ERA plus, um, which is going to factor in some ballpark and thing like that, it's telling
Sure.
me by far Clark Griffith.
Okay, so here's my strategy. If I was choosing between the three, based on what I've seen, of the pitchers, Clark Griffith would not be the number one of those three. Kid Nichols, Al Moore, and Clark Griffith, right? I would probably go with, not probably, most definitely go with the one that's not the Hall of Famer, and that's Al Moore. Because why waste a Hall of Famer when there's at least one
True,
player
and
almost as
Al Mall is on my list
there you go. So my list.
right there, but I just yelled Clark Griffith. But I need to
Yeah,
get what I need is the Hall of Fame tab added to here so that it'll
that's right.
flash at
That's
me.
right.
Hey,
See.
you know this. So if you look here, you can see. And again, this is just me. I know
Yeah.
Clue's probably going to kick me because I think him and I think a lot alike, and he's like, Steve, um, don't share the secret. But everybody, we can share this.
Everyone's
Only the
different.
people that care enough to go that deep will do it. And if they already care, they'd already be the ones doing that. So I'm
Exactly.
not really afraid. But this is one that I really look at because I always say that, like, to your point, like with Cy Young, if he's in a season where that ERA plus is maybe 130 or 140,
Mm.
and the batters are all with their OPS pluses and the high one, it's not going to be as good. This is just such a great visual indicator right here. So let's take a look at Maul.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you that
Miles
I
way above.
think based on my research, Maul should be about a 172.
Let's have a look.
Okay, he's 171. I have him at
Close.
172.
Close, yeah.
Kid Nichols, I have at
He's
174.
once,
So
and
let's see what Kid Nichols is.
Maul is 171.
Nichols is
Twice.
171. I show him at 174. But anyway, so my system's
Yeah,
pretty close at getting, which I think
yeah,
this is a great number because it's trying to remove any factors like if you're Oakland A's pitchers get a big, if you just look at their straight ERA, right? They're
yeah,
in a pitcher's park. So a lot of times you
yeah.
can't compare them to somebody equally. You've got to
That's right.
really
That's correct. Yeah,
factor in where those numbers were put up. So this to me is one of the best things. ERA plus as an
yeah.
indicator. And to your point, Maul is the guy to go with if you're
He's the
not
guy.
if you
Yeah,
don't want
yeah.
to do a
Hall of
Hall of
Fame.
Famer.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Look for the Hall of Famer. Look for the guy closest to them. It's not. And clearly, in the late 2000s or the 2010s, that's a plus for everyone because there's not going to be many Hall of Famers in there. Yet there will be eventually. They will become Hall of Famers. You know, whether that's the guys that were steroids guys, Bonds or maybe McGuire, but definitely Bonds or Clements. But then also you've got those players like Ichiro. No, Ichiro will get Hall. Is Ichiro in the Hall of Fame yet? He's not, is he? Ichiro's not in the Hall of Fame. No, he's not yet.
No.
You've also got guys like Verlander and those guys that going to get in Hall of Fame, but they won't have the Hall of Fame tag. So they're going to be great value
Oh yes.
when the late 2000s come up, as well
Well,
as the drug years.
I don't know if you remember this, but I got a couple of great years for non-Hall of Fame pitchers.
Who'd you get? Oh yeah, I mean Dwight
Dwight,
Gooden
Mike
and
Scott,
Mike Scott. Come on,
Dwight
you
Gooden.
couldn't get any better years than those two, to be honest. I made a list, Steve, actually, of all the great pitching. I don't know where this book is. It's on the floor around my TV. Of all the great players that are not in the Hall of Fame that should be. People like Dwight Evans. I had a chance to draft Dwight Evans. I passed up on him, to be honest. I don't think it made a difference because he's more. I think he's more rated for his outfield arm and outfield play
Yeah.
in right field than he is an actual hitter. Although he's not a bad hitter, don't get me wrong, and probably deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, at least over Harold Baines. Jeez, how did that
Yeah.
happen? I don't know. Even I understand that now. But yeah, you can see now, Steve. So what would I pick? The irony is, I wouldn't pick. I would probably pick Al Moore, but then I have a decision to make. What about the hitters from that year? Were there any Al Moores
Oh,
on the hitting side?
let's go take a look at hitters because
Yeah,
I don't know if I told you this, but I have a list that's trying to look for the cream of the crop, and it didn't even suggest
nobody exactly.
a hitter for that year. So that
It's
lets
not the
me
best
know that
hitting years.
I might move on from that. So let's take a look at the value for hitters, and you can
Mm.
see well John McGraw is probably the highest right
Well,
here. Billy Hamilton's there, but let's take a
Billy
look at their
Hamilton's there.
OPS plus. So Hamilton's
No,
369 hitter, okay, but his OPS well, no, it's pretty good.
he is a 167.
Yeah,
Elmer Smith, is he a Hall of Famer? 147. I don't think Elmer Smith is a Hall of Fame.
I
But there is
think
some value here because this is how I
yeah.
found Jack Glasscock. Just by looking and thinking, God, where is the value here somewhere? And I already know Chick Stoll for me works for me on the bench. He's just because I've played for him twice now. Jimmy Ryan also is a good player for me. Again, the experience that I've had of playing. Chick Stoll is a very good pinch hitter. For whatever reason, I don't know why, I put him on the bench and he performs.
Yeah.
Who's the other one? Jimmy Ryan's another one. Didn't do well in the Ned McGreevy like I wanted him to, but then again, I never gave him enough at bats to show him the stuff he was made of. So I might just find.
My list is not. I might need to expand it a little because I just saw something there that made me think.
What'd you see, Steve?
That I might need to drop my threshold there for trying to
Yeah,
suggest right and drop the adjusted OPS I'm looking for down a little bit. So hey, let's try another year. Let's see what another year brings us.
yeah, I love this. This is great stuff. It's good practice.
It is great practice.
Here we go. 2009.
Okay.
2009. Nothing comes to my mind immediately. 2009.
Pujols immediately for me,
See,
or
I
Joe
think
Mauer, but
I
I would
actually did
go
this
with
yesterday.
Pujols.
So I'm going Mao, and I'll tell you why. Tell me why you go with Albert. I did this yesterday.
Why would I go with Albert?
In fact, she's a Hall of Famer and power
Okay,
hitter.
hold on a second. Hold on a second, and let me look at a couple things there. Now I might
Yeah,
tell you why.
because to me, it's Joe Mauer every day. It's funny though to do this. It's really fun. It's just as much as fun as playing the game out. Albert clearly has an amazing OPS plus, right? But there's
Yeah.
a reason why I wouldn't necessarily pick him
Well,
over.
because you're going to go for the value at the position
Correct.
with Mauer.
Correct.
So let's go down here and take a look at 2009.
You're not going to find many Joe Mauers in the as a catcher with that kind of OPS.
Well,
It's not going to
think
happen.
about one of the players I had in our first run, Buster Posey in 2012.
Yeah, he was great.
That was
That's
a
a hell of a
steal.
pick. A hell of a pick. But
All
Joe
right.
Mauer's rated as a 10 catcher, 7 arm. It's pretty good. Do I value that more over Albert's 10 first baseman? So he's a Gold Glover, right? And his power. But you can get power anywhere in this league with this group of players. So it's about what do you want to value more, and that's just the hitters. In the pitching, I think that was also a good year for pitching.
Yeah. So the key is in the draft is if you and here's why this draft is so wonderful, right? When this year came up, could completely change everything. So let's say this is later in the rounds, and you've got Johnny Bench, or you've got Mickey Cochran, or Bill Dickey, or whoever there. Then it's Albert Pujols, right? Or
yeah, absolutely.
Or if it's late and it's always going to be Albert Pujols, but guess what? You're still looking for a catcher, and you get this year, boom. Now yeah.
I struggled with catching, if you remember. I
You
just
did.
could not get a year with a great catcher. Ironically, though, I did end up with a triumvirate, which was Basler was an 8. Almeida, who was in the Negro Leagues.
You platooned him pretty much.
I platooned him, yeah, and it worked.
So let's take a look at Pujols. I'm gonna, before I click on him, what does my sheet say? I show him at he should be okay. I've got another 189. It's pretty high. They're showing him at 202. So interestingly enough, they're valuing him a little bit more than me. I'm using what I call it's an adjusted. This is OPS plus. I've got a more filtered down adjusted OPS plus.
Right. Okay.
Mauer should be 171. So the game's valuing even Pujols more here. Value should be 171. It's only showing him at 160. So interestingly enough, if I would have known how the game had it, really, to your point, I don't see Pujols as high, but I still see him higher than Mauer. But if I needed a catcher, I might grab Mauer.
Yeah, it depends on the positioning. It's fascinating. That's why I love doing
this. But what I'm happy for is within 10 to 15 seconds, I had my possibilities already identified. Right?
Yeah. I could probably do it in 15 seconds as well. But I would probably use my time up as much as I can. Because there are so many alternatives. The obvious ones are the one that catches the eye isn't necessarily always going to be like we just saw.
The one that would really, the one that would concern me is if I think he's going to have, there'll be a list compiled and then we all get it published at the same time, what years we have. The one is if the person right now, if you look up and I've got 1921 and you've got 1927, I think we know, well, we'd know who we would say, but.
The babe.
Yeah.
Of course. But then again, would we? Depends. I
mean, I do know 19. I already think 1920. His, I think Ruth's best to me.
Yeah.
Let me tell you the best year. I'll share a little insight from my sheet I've got over here for you. Not that you care, but the number one rated season for batting for me to get would be 2002 Barry Bonds.
Yeah, that's the incredible walk season and home run season. The funny thing is, it didn't. In your replay, the last one you did, that was the first time I've seen Bonds actually do well.
Maybe he just needs the right managing and the right environment.
Yeah, Klug. Yeah. Thank you. Big Klug. Yeah, take some credit for Big. Although the swap for DeGrom worked for me.
Yeah, some of those.
And released Lefty O'Doul. I knew I had to get Lefty in the lineup, but I just couldn't do it.
Oh, it's nice.
But then with Bonds gone, subtraction was addition by subtraction. There you go.
The number one hidden jewel, I'll just share this, um, by far. To me, when it comes to a batting season, that is just so premier, and he's not on a lot of people's radar, and that's Fred Dunlap, 1884.
Oh, really? I don't know that guy. Now you just told me. I'll have to look him up. Yeah, do another one, Steve, because it's interesting just to see.
1884 Fred Dunlap is a monster.
Is he really? I'll have to look him up.
1884. Let's take a look at Baseball Reference,
I
shall
was
we?
just laughing to myself thinking, if Beatles tuned in, he said, what the hell are these guys doing?
Yeah. Fred Sure Shot
Uh,
Dunlap, a non-Hall of Famer. Look at 1884 right here.
right. 1884, you say, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Because I'm gonna try and find an alternative. 1884. Let's have a look. Because I always try not to go for the obvious one. 1884. Is he major leagues, right? Not association or
He is
union.
United Association.
Ah, so Union Association,
Union,
1884.
yeah.
Right, here we go. Okay, see, that's the trick of those ones. Dunlap, wow. Looking good. His OPS is 236. And wow, that's awesome. And he's a second
I have him
baseman.
at 256. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's
His pivot is 10. His rating is 10. Gold Glover. That's insane. See, this is the bit though.
I'm
Not
just gonna
knowing
tell you
this
that to
is
me that is the hidden jewel. I just shared a secret.
yeah,
Non-Hall of Famer on the batting side, and you just mentioned his fielding.
yeah. His feelings off the charts. Hold on. Let's see if I can beat that one. Let's see if I can beat him in that same year. Watch this. Let's see if I can do it. Fielding. Fielding range. Just setting up my page. Because I had this on all the time when I was doing the Ned McGreevy. Oh gosh, where is it? Fielding rating. Fielding rates. There you go.
Look at this
Here we
guy.
go. I'm gonna try and beat him. Okay, there's another guy. Let's have a look. No one comes close to Fred Dunlap in that year, to be honest. Nobody. Not even a pitcher.
Emmett Siri is interesting. He's a 10 in every outfield position.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. I'm thinking. Emmett Siri, lefty.
Yep.
Not the best arm though. Catcher. Oh right, outfield arm 7. Not bad, but
And
it's
he's
just it's not
10.
that great.
Yeah,
But again, good
Beatles,
bench
find
player.
somebody better than Fred Dunlap. I don't know. Look at that.
that is. I'm sure there is someone, but that's great value. There's no question
No,
about that.
there's not.
I
I'm
don't see
telling you,
any
Beatles.
weakness in
I'm
there
sharing
at
an
all.
inside secret.
Is
I
Beatles
don't
on
think
now? Is
there's.
he?
Is he on? No,
No,
he's
you're
probably.
saying it to him, right? He's lurking.
Um, let's see
It's
here.
good. It's good. Let's have a look here. Rating. There's my man, Jack Glasscock, but not the right version of Jack.
No, this is
6
just.
shortstop.
Yeah.
Jack Glasscock. Yeah, he is still good. 212 OPS. There you go.
Oh yeah. Wow.
There you go, Jack. See, I knew I'd find him. Find one person, and it happened to be
Something's
my
odd
man,
on
Jack.
that because he's not showing up.
He's on your list. Pebbly Jack is showing up on my one.
Well, let
He's
me
in the
search
game. He's
for him.
definitely in the game. He's definitely in the game. And he's an OPS of 212. So again, that's a really good one. Let's see, he's fielding. Not the
Interesting
bestest
enough, I
fielder.
don't have Jack Glasscock
And that's on
on
baseball reference
my.
you're using?
I've taken some stuff from Baseball Reference, but I've got my own sheet.
Yeah.
I've brought it into my sheet and started filtering stuff.
You've missed him. You've missed a gem.
Um,
There's
let's see here.
a guy called Yank
Jewel.
Robinson. Yank Robinson, good
Okay,
value,
okay.
third
I'm
baseman.
sorry. My highest rated. Well, this is wins above replacement. Okay, let's look at 1884, the normal season,
Yeah.
not the Union season,
Okay, take it out of that one. Okay,
and
go to the.
let's take a look at. I'll let you go pull it up. I'll pull it up on here.
I'm so
I'm
glad I bought
interested
this.
in this. I'm interested. If I would grab Fred Dunlap immediately if I
Yeah,
could.
no
But
question, he's good.
let's take a look at 1884 Pud Galvin. He's got a below one WHIP, and I show his wins above replacement that year.
Yeah.
To be that's another way to look at it, right? How good were they in that year? But
Wow.
then it lacks the context of. So let me look
But
at
Pud
ERA
Galvin
plus.
doesn't have the best whip in that year either. How about Jim Whitney? Jim Whitney, regular starter, 23 and 14, has a
Oh,
.890 whip.
old Hoss Radburn. I've
Old
got him
Hoss
over a
does.
200.
Yeah. What about Charlie Sweeney? Great value again, not a
Yep.
Hall of Famer.
Guy Hecker.
Now that's the guy that's on one of my lists. I recognize the name. Guy Hecker.
1884 Guy Hecker. Look at that.
What team do you play for?
Louisville in the American.
Let's have a quick look at him. I have him on one of my notepads.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
see
a
Louisville here.
serious.
1884, Major League
It's going to be
Baseball.
the American Association,
Right.
and that's going to be the tough thing with some of those things in action is you may have one or two or three of those, right? If based on some of those early years, because same thing in 14 and 15 when the Federal League comes into play.
Yeah, I may stick with what I know, and that my strategy with that would be I may miss out the gem, but I'll just have to take the hit and go with what I know with that one. But on the pitching side,
You know what we call
from
that?
that
That's hashtag trust the process.
Charlie Gibson gets Zine, Charlie Sweeney, non-Hall of Famers. I would look at them, but Jim Whitney would be the one I'd take, even for my bullpen. But I don't
Here's
trust
another
these
one.
pitchers.
Now that I'm looking at pictures for 1884, I got so excited with Fred Dunlap. If somebody already had him and I'm coming back around, this guy as well is popping up. Handsome Henry Boyle, 1884, his rookie season in the United Association, 15 and
Okay.
3, a WHIP of .853.
Wow. I have to look at this. Those associated. I don't pay attention to those ones at all. Let's have a look. 1884 Union Association. What about the American Association? That might have somebody in there. There we go. Fred Dunn, Orator Schaefer. Oh, nice name. You know, there's some great pictures. Henry Boyle. What about Doopy Shaw? There's Charlie Sweeney again.
I think Old Hoss, though, that's probably one of his best years
awesome.
in 1884. But it's the National League. I mean,
yeah, it's the yeah. It's interesting to see that. Would that not then having the association and the union in the draft? Would that not skewer the players available because they're not? Were they quality leagues? Well, they're major leagues, so they must be.
They, for our purposes, yes. How's that for an answer? Yeah,
Right,
we're not trying to rate any one level. We're just saying, hey, any season out there, grab a player and not limit it.
Gotcha. Like the PCL. PCLs are. Would that be included or not? Because it's a major.
No, because that was a
lesser league, right?
A lesser league, correct? Yeah. The one now interesting. Now, if I choose WHIP, which I think you agree is a good.
Yeah, it's a good indicator, no question.
Now, if I choose WHIP, then I come down here and I look at 1884 just for my WHIP, and it's that now I can see kind of innings pitch. Guy Hecker is the guy it says to go with. Guy Hecker would be the pitcher. In 1884.
Yeah, I tell you what, that is Fred Dunlap. I've fallen in love with him.
Oh, he was in the league. Do you remember that?
In the league we just did, was he playing for who?
Well, let's go back to the Shanks Bingo League and let's go look at him here.
Because he must have been in dead ball.
Player search. Somebody snagged this guy. The 1884 Dunlap was sitting on.
He didn't do well then because he doesn't come up in any leaderboards.
He's on Big Clue's team. Look at this.
He slipped that one in, didn't he?
So let's take a look at him. Let's see what he did in the season. Did he hold his own, right?
Yeah, looking what you just had on screen.
Let's
I
go to
don't remember
replay
talking about it
stats.
much.
Oh, here's the problem.
I know the problem is if we immediately
Look at the problem.
Fred Dunlap,
Look
he
at what he
didn't
did.
play.
He didn't
He
play,
didn't
but
play.
when he played, he batted 432 and
Well, not that
played in
not that
29
Clooney did
games.
his not that Clooney did his back, but yeah, that's a depth chart problem straight away, and the manager GM and usage problem. So
Now,
if Clooney adjusts that, then it
he's
will
got
adjust.
Lajoie, right? So let's see how he used Lajoie. So if he was smart, let's look at fielding. Lajoie played
Overused.
in the replay. He did 125 games at second and 94, which means there's some games he probably moved back and forth. But if he
He
would have
always,
used
yeah.
him as his main shortstop
You'd be laughing.
and got Dunlap in, if he watches this, he could have won the league maybe. He had a
Yeah, and
guy
he was
that's sitting
yeah,
on the
he did.
bench that was a 412 hitter that actually did 432 in 125 at bats. So let's multiply that out. I mean,
I tell you what's scary is Babe Herman played 161 games. Imagine if he had some rest. He was
well, you
so
know what's
good
funny?
anyway.
Look at LaJoie. So this warning in the game is usage. So he's
Yeah,
underperforming because of usage. And let's take a look at
yeah.
how many he played straight. So we had realistic usage on.
Mm.
And oh yeah, look, he got 718 at bats.
Wow,
And I
that's
think for
crazy.
our league, didn't Clue say that we set it at like once they're over 150? So it's pretty liberal, meaning
Yeah.
so if you had 400 at bats and we set that at that means you could get a full season basically,
Yeah.
but it's going to keep somebody that only had 100 or 200 at bats from being a full-time player with inflated stats. So
Yeah.
that's good.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
But
and
Fred
I'm all
Dunlap, what a
for
guy
that.
to come off the bench. What a guy to come off the bench.
So big
He's
clue, we've just done research today to show that this was probably at the time the hidden jewel in the entire draft. And in the games he played, he was performing much better. Look at Lajoie, a 426 hitter, was only 305 with a
no close.
140 OPS. And look at
Not even
Dunlap.
close to what he did in Ned McGreevy. He tore up with Ned McGreevy in that Bladgery.
And look at this,
Wow.
167 OPS batting over 400 for Dunlap. And you're not giving anything up at
So
second base.
fascinating to see this. Like I said, this game is, it's so deep. It's once you get the AI sorted, though, it does get a bit more realistic.
We are in so
In
much
terms of
better
the
shape
usage.
because we've all
Yeah, big time.
learned and put in the time and dug around and
And,
experimented. And
and and even Glasscock, if you click on Jack Glasscock, I'm sure I put a limitation on his at bats, even though he finished in the top 10 batting leaders. I'm
let's see
sure I
why.
put no,
Well, he played every
I have,
game for you, so he must be an Iron Man,
yeah,
right?
it's a DH. He was my DH, but
So
I
your
could have.
DH. Did you
That's
think you had
interesting
something on
usage.
him as a?
Yeah, I've had the usage. It says he was overused. Clearly, he was. So therefore, his stats were affected because he's that good. I mean, I really am amazed at how good he was.
Well, you know why his usage? I think when I let the league run out. Let's take a look at the rules. I think I set it up to have a 110 or 120%.
Mm, I I know I
So
put an individual management preference on him though against writing, but it was
usage pen.
overridden.
Oh yeah, once he got 10% over, he's going to have his effectiveness dropped here. So I think
Yeah,
what
yeah,
Clue is saying is we go to 150 and then we
yeah,
can reduce it by whatever. If we reduce it by
yeah.
10% or so, we can come up with whatever we want. But
That's
that
really
means that
cool.
if you've got a 300 at bat person, he could get 450 at bats
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
before he would get penalized. That's pretty.
That's so cool though to see that. I didn't see this bit, the usage bit on this part.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And this is just a way to build in so that people don't abuse,
Mm.
stuff. The other thing we had is require realistic rest, which means I think that's good
Where's
because it makes us have to,
where is that part?
right here
I know
under
it's on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
on the
That's cool.
rules. Yeah.
What about the batter splits? It says apply usage rules
Yeah, yeah.
to left.
Now that gets a little trickier. What it would be like if a player only batted so much against righties versus lefties that if you tried to use them the other way, that would apply
Gotcha.
to the at bats they had broken down by handedness.
Gotcha. 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 This is so cool. Just my final part on this whole drafting strategy. for me, it's an organic process. I have my list of names, clearly, as you do, and you have your system set up. Mine is not as tightly defined as yours. But I think you learned from today with the Albert Pujols thing, and the Joe Mara choice. What looks obvious isn't always obvious, although those two are the most obvious ones. It will depend on need as well and whether they're Hall of Fame or not. And as you rightly said, you put a Hall of Fame tag on your spreadsheet now. Because I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I think a lot of it depends. In an evergreen, for example, you want to know why I got Walter Johnson, Pete Alexander, and what's the other one? Tim Keefe. There was a fourth one, Jack Feaster, and a fifth one. My gem was a guy called Jake Weimer.
Oh yeah,
But when I was
from the Cubs, right?
yeah, but when I was playing against the guys, they were all bear in mind, maybe they weren't taken as seriously as I was. They were all drafted the big name hitters, and I saw it immediately. I thought,
Yeah,
give
you're
it
looking at the
Walter
quality.
Johnson.
You're not as attached sentimentally
Yeah,
on the
to
picks, and I
Honus and
think
those guys.
for me, it was interesting. This is probably one of the first drafts where I didn't have that clouding some of my judgment. Like for me, some sentimental picks are, I'll guarantee it, like Lou Gehrig. I mean, he's a great pick nonetheless, right?
Oh, I love Gehrig in my league.
But sentimental pick. Same thing with a Johnny Bench, right? Like if I would have had a Johnny Bench year, even though maybe you want 70 or 72, if 75 pops up, I'm like, oh, maybe I take him, right? Because
Yeah,
I want to have Johnny Bench, and I think that's the year Beatles took him. So it was interesting. I didn't catch myself in the sentimental mode
yeah. No, I
like I
didn't.
typically do, because my team ended up with players that I wouldn't have normally, you know, it wouldn't normally popped in my head to say, man, I really want this person on my team.
This is interesting. Looking at your league on screen, look at Lefty O'Doul. By removing Bonds from my squad, do you remember I joked with Clue? I said, Clue, I've got too much power. He said, what? You can't have too much power. I said, I do. I said, I've got to get Lefty O'Doul in the lineup. He did better, statistically batting average wise. And it was close to his OPS, real OPS, as you can see, OPS plus. And he probably was overused just a touch. It doesn't say it, but I'm sure he
Oh,
was.
actually, he was 6 at bats shy of what he did in real life. I mean, he played in every game that season, so no doubt
Yeah,
he's you got him right almost on the target at bats there. I don't know if
yeah.
you can see the screen here. I've got it
Yeah,
that
I can.
shows
Yeah,
what
I
he did.
can. Yeah, definitely. It's close,
This
isn't
is
it?
the other thing about this game. I don't know of another game. I mean, I think out of the park you can look at it this way, but what other game that this screen is one of my favorite after you've replayed a season, right? You come
Ah,
back
I'm
and you
looking
get
at
in
it
a
now.
one
Yeah.
snapshot, you get to see everything the player did. And what's interesting is then if you come over to the history tab, that's where you could get into the encyclopedia, meaning um, this is
That's
where you
pretty
could
cool.
import other and look at other seasons he played. Like if you were doing, a season after season trying to recreate history and things like that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But
I didn't see this as deeply as you did
the other
just
thing
now
is
when
game
I.
logs. So then you want to say, hey, how'd Lefty do? You could look at his
Mm.
game logs here and go game by game and look at the actual box score. So you could
I
see.
think I think Jack Glasscock lost performance towards the end of the season. I don't know it
Let's
for sure. Have a look. Oh, you have to give it a BBX and I'll have a look. But if you go to
well, let's go
O'Doul, he was
right here.
consistent.
Let's go to
Right? Yeah.
Glasscock. Let's pull up him. And this is kind of fun where you can start digging in here and
Yeah.
looking at.
I can't believe I got to 91 games in the end. I cannot believe it. Well, I can. I missed it around, but my God, that's still good performance. Considering where I was in all the trials. Wow.
Yeah, here's his batting. So
Now,
if
my
I won't
theory,
let me
he
expand.
dropped off towards the end of the season. He must have.
So it's showing his running average. So what's interesting is it shows game by game what his average was over here on
It
the
showed
right.
month by month as well. I can see month by month on the other page.
Yeah. So let's take a look at this. He peaked right here in September 9th. Oh, I'm sorry. This is how he ended it. So if we went back to the beginning and start looking at
Yeah,
how
it's gone downhill.
his
It
highest was
peaked at.
May 26th, he was 320. And I don't think he ever got, so he's pretty much 300s through June into July.
Yeah,
It's right around 300 in August. No, he stayed pretty consistent.
consistent. I love him. I just think every time I watched him, he had a hit right up his sleeve. And with Joe Morgan ahead of him, you can imagine how happy I was. Now, a couple of questions for you, Steve.
Yeah.
So I had some talk last night. I was watching you guys play Brooklyn. and Reds. I think you lost that game. I think it was in the end. I fell
Hmm.
asleep around that point, and then I
Yeah, we
went
had
back
some
and
good
watched you
games last
play.
night.
It looked good. That Brooklyn game and the cards and the stadium, wow, they looked awesome. The question is, are we having keepers from the previous
I,
league?
my
So
gut
I make
tells
that.
me yes. I think everybody was kind of in favor. I didn't hear everybody against it. I think
I
it's just
definitely liked it.
what I think we should talk about. What number makes sense, and does that? Um,
Five sounds good to me because I already know my five. I heard it this morning when I was playing it back. I
eh,
think that's Jack, that's Joe, that's Bill. Do you
right?
know what I mean?
And it's almost like, okay, let's say this. Let's say somebody got Fred Dunlap, right? Um,
Yeah.
do they get to keep him forever? I don't know. I don't know if that's the right thing, right? So maybe we have a rule that says maybe you could only keep three players, right? And you can only keep somebody 3 years in a row, something like that. So that way, like if I got Walter Johnson in 1913, you know, should I be able to keep him for 20 years? I don't know. I don't know if that's completely fair, but
I
I
like
think
it
an
because
element. I think there's an
I think so.
element of there needs to be some keeper element, but
I agree because there is an emotion. I think you guys said it. I know you guys were taking the piss out of me, which is funny. I think the speaker said, "I'm worried about him. He needs to keep some of his players." And I was like, "You're right.
it
I
was
do
me.
want to keep them
I
this
know you
year."
have when you look at this because the other day when I was broadcasting, you said I could watch
Uh,
my team play anytime. I know
Anytime.
you have expended energy with your lineup and
Oh
everything, and
yeah.
when you do that, you have even though I know you're never going to delete that team, that file, you're always going to have
No,
a copy of
never,
that.
never.
So
I'm,
I
I'm,
know
I'm
you have an emotional attachment.
I want Beatles to release the flipping Ned McGreevy to me as well. Although I can recreate the Ned McGreevy quite easily because I've got
Yeah.
the issue. But I would keep DeGrom for sure because he was great. That's most of my pitching done. I think going back to the hitters, Joe Morgan, I'd love to keep. But if it's down to three, I would keep Lou Gehrig, obviously. I would definitely keep. Oh, DeGrom would be good to keep. But I'd keep Pebbly Jack because I just love him. And I probably would keep Joe Morgan. In fact, not probably,
Yeah.
those would be three. Five would be even better
Well,
because
it
I'd
would be
keep left
better.
Abdul.
Yeah, that's something we should talk about. Like when we go into the next season, do we raise it up to five? And then how many consecutive years could you protect the same player?
Yeah, I mean, that's for season three. I mean, we're going to season two. I definitely like the keeper idea because it does allow you to keep some attachment with the players from season one. Because we did put a lot of time into it, to be fair.
I agree.
And
And I don't
five would be good.
I
I'd
don't know
like
if you
five.
do I mean, it reminds me, fantasy football that I was in years ago in a keeper league. But we always had it was two keepers, right? And then and it was enough where you felt like, yeah, I've got some people and I did a good job drafting and I can keep them. But it's a good debate for us, I think, for
Yeah,
us to talk
definitely.
about. Is the right number three? Could we take it to five, like you're saying? And if we do three, four, or five, is there what limits would we want to put? Do we want to allow somebody to be able to protect, let's say, Lou Gehrig and use them 5 years in a row or more than 3 years, things like that?
Gotcha. Like a contract. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
exactly,
makes sense.
exactly. And here's the other question. Let's say you've got somebody you like a Vita Blue's a no-brainer. 71's a great year, but let's say, you've got a great year for Gehrig. I think you've got 36,
I
right?
think I had Vida Blue 72, It didn't perform the way I expected him to.
Oh no, you
Just,
have the really good Vita Blue, but again, he's in a
did I?
pitcher's park. So let's take a look at his ERA plus. You got 71. That's his best year.
I thought it was 72. Let's have a look. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. He just never came up with the goods for me. Wasn't bad. Still had a winning record, if I remember correctly.
But
17 to 10 is not
there's
bad.
so much. The other thing,
Yeah.
and I'm going to tout this league is you can replay this league and get such a wide range of results versus if you replayed an actual season. Like if you take
Yeah.
1972 out of the box, play it over and over, you're going to get variation, but
Yeah,
it's
of
going to be
course.
within a closer norm, right? This one is
Yeah.
so. This is why I don't think we need to really. I haven't felt after watching us sim these out that we needed to
Yeah.
mess with what do we call it? The alternate reality because we get a
No, no.
variation. The only
You
thing
get a
alternate
variation.
reality would do is it would really make us kind of a little bit blinder while the season
Yeah.
was going.
Yeah, we've got enough blinders on at the
And to
moment.
me,
It's fine.
I don't think we need that, because if we were going to manage all our games week by week, then alternate reality would be cool, because you'd have to monitor weekly and say, wow, Joe Morgan's underperforming. Maybe he's not as good as I'm
Yeah, yeah,
expecting, right?
yeah, yeah.
But in our league, the way we're going to sim, I don't think it does what it's billed to do.
Yeah, I get the argument for alternate reality. I didn't. I think that's kind of how I play Out of the Park with their OTTP talent engine on,
Yeah.
rather than the real calc, which I do. Do you play Out of the Park?
I haven't in the last year, but before I found myself playing a
It's
lot
still
of the
great.
perfect team. I got into the perfect team with the
I
baseball
did
cards,
too.
and then I just loved it. And then trying to, swap it out and get different players and build my team, and then running into some of the tournaments. I did Out of the Park 22. I played a
I did
lot of
22,
21
funny
and
enough.
22. Um,
I I did pretty well in that. I can't remember who I had now looking back. 23 I didn't play perfect team at all, not once, because my
I didn't either.
account for whatever reason didn't reconnect
Mine
with the
didn't either, and I
22.
didn't have the energy to
Yeah,
to
there you
sign up
go.
again.
Same thing. Same thing. Must have been a. See, that's interesting, isn't it? It's a similar mindset, but I was just like, oh, I can't be bothered with this,
I got
which is a
23 when
shame.
Beatles when it went on sale last year. And
Same
then when
here.
I couldn't get in, and it's like, why am I having to sign back in again, and I can't play perfect team, and then I didn't do my
Exactly.
23.
And the funny thing was, we were able to sign in year after year, like, 21, 20, 21, 22.
Yeah.
For some reason, 23, and I thought, I can't be asked. Next question. So that's the keeper question. The
Okay.
second, I felt we unfairly penalized the player in the whole baseball universe. We did a Kennesaw Mountain Landis on him. It was Joe Torre. I felt he should have been in the league because he's a Hall of Fame manager. Should not have counted against him, and we excluded him.
I I don't know if we
What do you think?
excluded him, but that rule made him not as desirable.
Well, he wasn't included. That's why. Because I think he did get picked
He got
at one
picked, but
point.
he didn't get to be kept because somebody was already over their Hall of Fame. I just think now that we know the rules, if you see him
Yeah.
earlier, okay, the rule of Hall of Fame, you can draft him, but he's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
Well, yeah, that was the rule. That's exactly. But
And
is
and the
that
problem
fair?
is somebody was already capped. If you remember, they already had their 5.
But is that fair though? The rule about him being a Hall of Famer.
Big
You
Clue's
have to
gonna
be
say
a.
yes.
Is he
I
okay?
I could.
I think Clue wanted him. I think Clue wanted him. It was Clue that picked him at that stage, and I just remember thinking, logically, I kept thinking,
Oh, it was
why
somebody
wouldn't
else,
he
because I
be?
think Clue came in saying no, we need
Maybe.
to stick with it, because if
Oh,
we
maybe,
go to,
maybe.
look at me, I'm hitting buttons all over. So let's go to.
Because
I
it
think
only
the
really affects him, doesn't it? Of all the thousands of players that play baseball, he's the one that gets affected by that rule. I can't think of anyone else that was a Hall of Fame manager and potentially a Hall of Fame player. He should be in the Hall of Fame, actually. Funny enough, as a player, I do believe that. But we've applied a rule to him that's so unique, it's almost unfair. That was my thinking, anyway. It didn't make a difference. It's not that great a
and the
player.
bad thing is, I wish you.
There's no one
Okay,
else in the
okay.
whole
Here's
universe.
where I think you and I can lead the charge. Look at this. When we go
Yes.
to Baseball Reference, it says
Yeah.
Hall of Fame and manager. That
Hall of
indicates
Fame
he's in
manager,
there
yeah.
only as a manager. So
Correct.
who else is a Hall of Famer that was a manager as well?
That's a good point. I don't think there is any.
Is it Huey Jennings? Let me see.
Because that's something that needs to be in the
Okay.
rules.
He's in the Hall of Fame, but he's in the Hall of Fame as a player. So to me, if you're
There you
in there
go.
only as, so how about this? Sparky Anderson. So I think I made a
He
joke about Sparky Anderson.
Sparky played in a major well, no one's going to draw Sparky Anderson though for his one at bat
Mm.
like Moonlight Graham.
He's in the Hall of Fame, but it makes me wonder why Torre has that uh, in parentheses manager to denote manager only. Oh, I know why. This makes
Because he
sense
should be.
because I'm looking at the manager file. So look at this. If we go to Sparky Anderson player,
Yeah, he's nothing really as a player, is he?
it's okay. This is now I think MV here's what I'm seeing. If we search him as a player, it'll say Hall of Fame only as a manager. He should not
Yes,
count as a Hall of Famer. We go to Joe Torre,
correct. Same
but
thing.
when you search not in the manager pool, but the player pool on Baseball Reference,
Yeah,
this should be the
yeah.
deciding factor. If they're in only as a manager, they should not count as a Hall of Fame player. because
Correct.
it doesn't make sense.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah. There you go.
And I think we can
Hall of
argue
Fame
that
manager.
here to say, if you go to Baseball Reference and search under player, not the manager tab,
He's not in the Hall of Fame.
he's not in the Hall of Fame there. And we go to Bill
Exactly.
Terry.
And the thing is, he's such a good player to exclude. Why exclude such a great player?
Bill Terry is
on
Hall
that
of Fame.
run?
He's a Hall of Famer, but he's not a manager only.
There you go, Bill
How
Terry.
about this one? Earl Weaver.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's fine. Weaver, again, same thing.
But look
Weaver,
at this.
we're not going to draft Earl Weaver.
But we're at the manager view, not the player view, because he
Yeah,
doesn't have a
yeah.
player view. Who's
Hall
another
of Fame.
manager?
Somebody, Whitey Herzog played in the major leagues. Again, he's a Hall of Fame manager. I think Whitey Herzog is a Hall of Fame manager. Isn't he?
Miller Huggins is a player. There you go. Miller Huggins isn't going to
That's a
count
big
as a
one.
Hall of Famer because he's only a Hall of Fame manager. So the fact that they label manager up here, that's got to be our deciding factor.
Yeah. And that's the reason why he should be in.
Exactly.
Oh, Frank Robinson was the exact opposite. But Frank Robinson is in as a Hall of Fame player, and that's rightfully so. He's not
Correct.
a Hall of Fame manager. He should. Joe Torre should not be penalized.
No,
in my opinion. Yeah,
no.
yeah. There you go. Glad that was happening because that was on my mind. I was tossing and turning. I was, Steve. I kept thinking,
it makes sense, and Baseball Reference will show us if it says Hall of Fame and the manager's in parentheses. Let you know that it was specifically as a manager, and they should be allowed as a player.
I can't think of anyone. Oh, here's one. What about? Actually, here's another one it applies to though. Interesting one. What is the guy? Is it the guy that managed the Orioles, the Baltimore Orioles, at the turn of the century? Not Weaver, the one way before that, 100 years before. What's his name? Very famous guy. He was a really good player, and he was also a great manager. Not McCarthy. Before then, 1900s Baltimore Orioles. The manager then. What was his name?
Here we go.
Oh my God, the name's on the tip of my tongue.
Is it Jimmy McKayler?
No, not him.
You're talking about a different Baltimore team.
This is a dead ball player, maybe late 18th century, 19th century. What's his name? Oh, those are the managers, are they? Let's have a look. It's the old Orioles, not the new Orioles, if that makes sense. Because the Orioles are the Senators, aren't they? I'm talking. Where's my book? I've got my book right beside me here somewhere. He's really famous. But he was a player and a manager. Not Wilbert Robinson. Let me look. I've got it right here, Steve. Once it's bugging me now.
All right.
Not Clark Griffith. But what's his name?
And then after you find that out, are you ready to throw a couple more random years and check it out?
I've enjoyed that. We've had no viewers. It's like,
no, we've got 5. Hey, we're bringing people in here. It's like these people are talking draft strategy. Look out.
I was surprised. I was thinking.
But you know what we found out? We found the Jewel Dunlap. We found also how Big Clue misused him. That could have been a difference here.
Time.
I mean, Big Clue won his division by 14 games.
I wasn't expecting much from Big Clue anyway.
No. He'll look at it like, hey, guys, I took it easy on you. I kept him on the bench. Otherwise, I didn't want to win 120 games.
Where's my book? I've got a book here. That's the Bill James Guide. You know the one.
You know what I'm proud of? If you look at this league that I did, look at my team fielding. I'm very proud of my pitching and fielding.
Where's my one?
I had some good range.
Yeah, I need to do that. That BBX Beacons missed it, you see, that night just as well because it blew up the league, which is brilliant. Let's have a look. Where is the book called? What's it called? Bill James Guide to Management, I think it's called. I've got it here somewhere. One second. I'm going down this long list of base books. So I've come in as the rookie in the league, as in, I'm a Brit. But actually, when I look at all the books I've bought over the years, I've got them all. I've got most of them anyway, the big ones. Roger Angel, is it? Roger Angel? Oh, where is this book? And you should know it, Steve, as a baseball man yourself. This guy, you're going to kick yourself when you say, oh, that guy. What's his name, Steve? Here we are. Got it. Baseball Manager. Just downloading it now to my Kindle. Right, here it is. And his name is it John McGraw? That's it, John McGraw.
Oh, John McGraw. Yeah, And he showed up for Baltimore on, I think when we were looking at one of those 1880 seasons as a shortstop.
That's it. Yeah, yeah,
So let's
yeah.
take a look at him. So let's go to,
He's in the Hall of Fame, isn't he? Is
yeah,
he as
but
both?
he's both, right? But here's how you'll know that it's not manager only. I'll guarantee you, if we go to John McGraw, okay, it's going to
Yeah,
say right here, John McGraw, and it'll say Hall of Fame manager, okay?
not player.
Correct, not as a player.
Yep,
Um,
that's why he can
because
play. He can play.
that's why he can play. And then if we went and looked at him, because I think he's going to have a manager tab too, right? How do I get
Hmm.
over there? Right here, manager stats. So let's go to manager, and it'll list him. Yeah, Hall of Fame as a manager. So when you go
Yeah,
over to,
that makes
because he
sense.
didn't make it as a player, that's the key. So you can switch if you've got a guy that managed and go between their major league stats and their manager
Mm,
stats. So this is denoting that it's manager only. He didn't make. So to me, he doesn't count as a Hall of Famer.
he can play
He can
just like
play.
Torrey.
Yeah.
And the thing about Joe Torre, well, I was a bit like, no, because he is a great player in his own right. I think he gets overlooked as was he a third baseman, Joe Torre? He's a pretty good third baseman to be deserved to be in the league,
Yeah.
you know?
He's a great short.
So,
He got some years he played shortstop, but yeah, as a third baseman right here. Like here's an OPS plus season. Probably his best one I would say is 1899.
yeah, it's
That's a
not
good one.
bad, actually.
Now,
Yeah.
hidden jewel. I'm going to throw out another hidden jewel before I
Let's have
ask
a
you to
look.
throw. This is just you and I having fun today.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Amazing anybody else finds this entertaining besides us. I know Aaron's
But
doing some baseball for Windows, but
Aaron, are you still there, by the way? That's Steve and I geeking out big time.
yeah, I'm looking for hidden jewels that aren't Hall of Famers. Well, um, Manny Ramirez. Some of those years, like remember I got Albert Bell in
Yeah.
'95. Some of those
That
'90
was a
seasons,
great pick. You were
those
so lucky I
steroid
wasn't online.
are
Well,
jewels.
I just came offline when he did that. I was like, damn it, he got Albert Bell. Every
Yeah.
time I saw Albert come up in my my exhibition games, I just knew he was gonna hit one to left field big time.
What do you think of this person? 1985.
Oh,
I'm going to throw
what team?
1985 out and let you scramble. I've just
All
given
right.
you 1985.
Okay.
Do your
So
research and
before
come
I
back,
even
and I'm going to tell you who my secret player is right here.
all right, let me go in here right away and go in. While I do that, in my head's turning already.
Okay.
1985, that would be the Cardinals. That would be the Mets. That would be the Yankees. That would be, this is before I even load this thing up. It's taking a second. 1985. I'm very good with 1985 in my head. I'm thinking John Tudor. I'm thinking Kansas City Royals. I'm thinking, all right, let's have a look. Dale Murphy. Right, here we go. So, pitcher or hitter or both. I'm going to go with, on the hitting side, it's a no-brainer anyway, I believe. So it can't be a Hall of Famer because George Brett would probably be the number one in that league. In terms of pitching, obviously Dwight Gooden and John Tudor. Like I said out loud, I said John Tudor, didn't I? So from a non-Hall of Fame point of view, John Tudor or Dwight Gooden, probably Rick Russell as well, as I know he was good in that year. Dave Steve, there are no Hall of Famers in that top 10 both leagues that I am looking at in terms of pitching. In terms of hitting, there's loads. So the top one would be George Brett, but I'm going to go for a non-Hall of Famer. Donnie Baseball would be one, and that's
Well,
so straight to my head. Donnie Baseball comes up, but if you're looking for someone else, give me one more minute. It's a 5-minute clock. Take.
yeah, that's
Just
fine.
because I was on my own the other day and I was sweating. I was like, oh, I can't believe it. I'm creating my own pressure here. And a clock going and everything going, Steve. I gotta beat Steve. I gotta beat Steve.
Yes,
Here we
yeah,
go.
and it's going to be in our heads the whole time.
And Clue, you guys are a little ahead of right. So I said George Brett, but I'm gonna go for a non-Hall of Fame in Don Mattingly for sure. Only because he should be a good fielder. I don't know much about his fielding, but I'm gonna quickly check now. My final decision coming in would be Dwight Gooden, obviously, for me,
Okay,
or John
but
Tudor.
yeah, so you know that, but batter. What's your batter going to be?
Banner, right, okay. Here he comes. Willie McGee. Willie McGee. Del Murphy. non-Hall of Fame. Keith Hernandez. Oh, there's so many, actually. Lou Whitaker. Right, so my final decision, Mike Scioscia would be a good pick. I would go with Willie McGee in center field, 7-arm, 149 OPS plus. On-base percentages is decent, 384. He can play all the outfield, but better as a center fielder. Or this is non-Hall of Fame, Keith Hernandez, goes without saying, because of his talent at first base. He's not a Gold Glove, is an 8. Or one more. I said Lou Whitaker, didn't I? No, I wouldn't go with Lou Whitaker. So basically, we come Doug Mattingly or Willie McGee and possibly Dale Murphy. Dale
Interesting.
Murphy would be the one. Yeah, that's the 3.
So interesting because here's the one batting, just straight OPS batting with my numbers.
Yeah.
I show a guy with just a hair ahead of George Brett that year. So to me, my formulas are spitting out 2 names for batters to look at.
So Cesar Cedeno would be off the bench for me if that's what you
think. You haven't named the one that I have top of my, just for batting. Now, this doesn't add in the other intangibles like, okay, what position, their fielding, just hitter.
Pedro Guerrero.
Let's take a look at his OPS
I
plus.
remember his
194 OPS.
Yeah.
I don't have it that high, but I have him as the highest on mine.
Non-Hall of Famer, yeah. Well, for me, Willie McGee would be, I think Willie McGee's 149. Yes, I'm right with Willie McGee. Yeah, not a bad pick. I was looking at him as well, Pedro Guerrero. I thought, you can't mean Pedro.
Look at his OPS. Yeah, look at it. 83 walks. 83 walks and only 68 strikeouts with power. That's a great combination, right? And in that era, so if I adjust ERA plus or OPS plus on him, I'm getting a 182, right? Which is going to limit a little bit. Let's take a look at Brett. I show Brett at 179. They've got Brett at 174. So but Brett's a above average third baseman. So and he's a Hall of Famer. But yeah, you're right. Willie McGee, another great option here. This is a guy that has so many years that he shows value. Ricky Henderson that nobody got in the draft.
Yeah, Ricky was.
Did that surprise you? Let's look at Ricky because I kept thinking if I can get a year,
you had a chance, but
I had a Hall of Famer left, and I needed a left fielder, and there's many great left field years here for him. I mean, 1990.
I think in the end, I don't know who you got with your 5th and final delayed Hall of Fame.
Hal Newhouser in the final round, and he ended up being a spot starter.
Exactly. I think Ricky would have been great.
I should have used Hal Newhouser. I bet you if I used him for trade bait, I didn't do any trades. I'm sure somebody out there might have wanted Hal Newhouser.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, trades didn't really happen as much as we thought they might, to be honest. Mike Scioscia, not bad as a catcher in that year. Bill Doran, I always remember my memory as a young teenager, was Bill Doran was always a dangerous hitter, you know?
Yeah.
Jack Clark was another one. Yeah, Jack Clark's not bad in that year. Outfield arm 9. First baseman. Can play not very good as a right fielder, to be honest. Great arm, though. Not bad value. Yeah, so I get that one. But the pitching is what stands out, though.
Oh, yeah.
In that one. You have to go with Gooden or
You
Tudor.
have to go.
Tudor was awesome.
You have to go with Gooden or Tudor. Yeah.
You know, Tudor was a 1.86 ERA plus.
But batters, there's many options there, Hall of Fame and non-Hall. Well, George Brett's there. Here's another guy that didn't make our league, George Brett. But George Brett is there. But there are, you just mentioned a handful of people that you would consider from Willie McGee to Whitaker.
Yeah.
I mentioned Pedro Guerrero. So that's an interesting year to not use a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, big time. There's lots of different choices there. 100%. Dave Parker's not in the Hall of Fame, is he?
He's not. I'm going to throw another player at you, or another player a year at you. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
You don't mind this? This is helping your research, isn't it?
Steve, I love this because, I have got the 80s are probably my strongest one because I remember watching it live at the time.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Yeah.
Here is, and I don't know how old you are, MV. I'm 57.
I'm 55, 56, 56.
Okay.
I'm born in 1967.
I'm a year older than you. Yeah, I'm a year.
Because of COVID. I just sometimes.
Oh, you stopped COVID, so you paused for 2 years and didn't count.
No,
Those aren't official years in your book, so you're a little younger now.
I'll be 54 then, if that's the
Yeah.
case. No, I was born in 67, so
Okay, good. Yeah. So
I'm
I'm a year older.
56.
We're about the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
age.
yeah. So you'll
Um,
watch what I watched.
oh yeah. Let's see. So I'm gonna throw a year at you. Let's see.
Mm.
Let me hit my 1940.
Top of my head, before I even do anything, I'm thinking 1940 would have been, let's see now, 1939, Ted Williams would have been up. My man there, what's his name, the pitcher from Cleveland, he would have been up to
Feller.
1940. Bob Feller, that's the guy I'm thinking of. Bob Feller. Let me think now. Well, before I load up this thing, 1940, the Yankees would have been strong. The Red Sox would have had Bobby Doerr. But these are all Hall of Famers I can remember. Let's see. I'm in it now. So, I don't know who is not a Hall of Famer or who is. I know most of them, like Greenberg and Joe DiMaggio. Greenberg should have been the premier player at the time, along with Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams. But Rip Ratcliffe stands out as a player at the top of my mind. It wasn't a great offensive year for OPS, it looks like, for 1940.
Ooh, I
So
beg to differ, but I'm
you
gonna
beg to
let you
differ.
go.
All right. So let me look at my other report, the one I tend to use. So players, go to fielding, go down to range. Then I'll get the true value of the person. This is great stuff, by the way, these reports. Really get deep into it. And that's why I think I won the Labour Gravy. I was looking at reports everyone else wasn't. Here we go. So value-wise, Johnny Mize, not a Hall of Famer. Or is he?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not a Hall of Famer,
160,
but
so 167 OPS. Stan Hack, 140 OPS. Rudy York, 150. Junior Stevens must have been around. Dove Camilli would have been someone I would have picked, 156. Let's have a look at rating instead. Joe DiMaggio, great. Billy Sullivan, who the hell is that guy? Dove Camilli again, Miller. Terry Moore, him I know as a Cardinal. Well, not very good. You've got an OPS counter there, which do you know what I've learned from this exercise? I need an OPS counter. That's what I need.
well,
You're
that's just my first tip. Like when people start thinking, I'm thinking, okay, who's my best batter? OPS. Then I got to work my way off of that. For example, Johnny Mize to
yeah,
me in 1940, he's the best. He's non Hall of Famer, right? I
yeah,
don't
he's the
really
best
have
one.
anybody that my system here didn't spit anybody. Well, let me take a look at it. If I'm looking for batters, it's basically gave me. Um, I see DiMaggio there. I even see a Hank Greenberg in 1940,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah,
those are Hall of
definitely.
Famers. So I've
The
got
Hall of
two Hall of
Famers.
Famers or Johnny Mize. But let's look at this. Let's say it's later in the rounds and you've already got Lou Gehrig on your team. So if you've got Lou
You're
Gehrig
right,
and in
actually.
1940 pops up, Johnny Mize may be your guy, but not in that
No, I
circumstance.
wouldn't. If I had Gehrig, I wouldn't go for Mice
No.
because obviously he's the first
So
base.
the
And
strategy here is you can know
yeah,
some of the players, but if it doesn't fit for you, or you're out
doesn't
of Hall
fit.
of
Doesn't
Famers,
fit.
or you've already got the position covered, where you get assigned that year in the round and what you already have is what makes all that strategy
Yeah.
come into play.
What I learned from my one though, if I look at my Red Bolt versus say your team or any team, there are so many great players that were. If I looked at my entire squad of players, right, 25 or 30 roster, in terms of all time legit, you know, all consensus Hall of Famers, Lou Gehrig would be the only one I can think of that would be like in the top 10 all time or top 20 all time. Joe Morgan might get in the top 50 all time. So really, I'm thinking, okay, it isn't all about those big stars, but have some good ones. But you're
Yep.
never going to get a spread of maybe three of the all-time. We're talking all-time top 20. Joe DiMaggio will be in there, but the chance of me,
Let's
would I
look at
pick
your
him?
team, real stats,
Yeah,
and let's just
yeah.
do we have OPS? I like this when you're looking at lefty and righty, but look at the OPS you have on your team. Okay. And this is versus righties. You've got five guys over a
Yeah,
thousand.
we
That
kill
that
righties. We kill them.
okay. And then if we go versus left, you got five guys there. So here's
We
the
were
deal:
great.
Lefty O'Doul is still versus left-handed hitting over 1,000 OPS. So is Gehrig.
Yeah, it was exactly my point. I was saying I still got the performance from the Bill Dunn was a lovely surprise. I didn't know he had home run. I don't know how many he hit in the end, but I guarantee he must have hit at least 15 from a dead ball player. That's pretty good. What did he actually hit? Home
You
runs,
you
Bill
rode
Darling.
him like a tired horse. He got
I
105 more
did.
at bats with you managing him. He's gonna need an off season.
But look
Um,
at his batting average. It's awesome.
well, actually, he only batted 236 for you.
Did you really? Wow, I
Yes.
didn't know that. Because he must have dropped off. If you look at his months, his batting average dropped in September massively and in July for some strange reason. Maybe because of who we were playing in April and June. But
Oh,
looking
in
at
June, he had a rough June.
he hit 23 home runs. He was way above the average in home runs.
Interesting to see how some of that played out, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know
now
what?
that I'm seeing this one, I'm like, okay, I do like Bill Dallin though. He's pretty good.
Let me fire up. I don't know if I got a chance to show off the. You're a. I don't know if you were Ebbets Field you like, but the
Yeah, I love Ebbets. Ebbets
so
55.
Manchester, you had you were in the Polo Grounds, right?
No, Ebbets 55. Definitely Ebbets. Oh, oh, faux pas. It says Polo Grounds.
It does.
So that's weird because I was definitely at Ebbets because
Maybe
it
I
shows up
changed
on
it for a game yesterday or whatever. Let's look at
maybe,
Big
yeah.
Clue. Where's the Clues team? He's Jersey.
You definitely have been Ebbets in the league. I was definitely Ebbets because I
Okay.
saw the picture as well.
I was just wanting to show. I was going to take a look at Polo Grounds and see how it played here.
Mm.
Let's run a little sim here. See
Oh, it looks
what's the
awesome.
computer like.
Absolutely. Is this from Out of the Park? Not Out of
Yes,
the Park,
this is
but
the new Out of the Park 23.
MLB.
I got in there, and this is one I wanted to see in the game because I
MLB the show.
exported it.
That's it. MLB the show. I
So
mean, yeah, yeah,
that's your go-to lineup right there on the screen, isn't it?
yeah. I love that. That's my killer lineup. Killer. I think they
And
only have been the third best in the league. But if I'd have realised about the usage, I would have definitely tamed Glasscock and Dallin because they seem to be
here's
that good.
he's got Dunlap in there. There's Dunlap playing. Bill Joyce, Camille, Walker, Crandall, Babe Herman.
People should export these. Can you not just export a team?
I'm gonna who do you want to pitch here? I'm gonna throw DeGrom in there. That was
Yeah,
one of
DeGrom
your
was
go-to,
awesome.
right?
Yeah, DeGrom was pretty good. He had a good record as well. In that type of league, and that's not even DeGrom's best season, his second best season. I think the season afterwards is his best season. He had two great, Hall of Fame seasons so far, and he's still playing, isn't he? That
Yeah.
DeGrom
So
season was as good as Dwight Gooden's, in my opinion. It's just Dwight Gooden's gets more hype because it was a rookie season. But DeGrom was just superb.
just
Lajoie
do an inning here and see how this looks. But that's a great looking stadium.
Oh, it's awesome. I still haven't opened up my PS5 yet. It's still sitting beside me.
Oh my gosh.
It's it's not the same. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know PS5 is going to be awesome when I do put it on, and I love MLB the show. But I almost wanted to have these players in it as well. I might do my own
Yes,
roster, my own thing at home, just for my own use. Maybe
exactly.
just play around and create some. I know. I'll create my Red Bulls.
There you go. So let's see. I'm just going to run this thing to the end here. See
It
what we
looks
got.
so good. But
Who
the
won this
Dodger game
exhibition
yesterday.
game? What do we got? Da, da, da. Ooh, 4-3 Jersey.
Yeah, it was tight.
Manchester
Yeah,
tries to come back in the end, but yeah, it just
yeah, no, that's
I've
good
I've
stuff.
been testing some of these photos out
Stadiums, yeah.
and just really love them.
Al
Now
Rosen,
I got another year for you.
yeah, yeah. Let me
Or no,
just get
you
myself
pick a
ready.
year now. You pick a
Let me
year.
pick a year.
I'm over here. You pick a year and
Yeah, let me go for it now. Here we are. Where's it? Random number generator. 1901.
oh, right away I think in my brain I'm thinking Hall of Famer Honus Wagner, Lajoie, Jesse Burkett. Those are
Yeah,
all Hall
straight
of
away.
Famers. Those are all Hall
They're
of Famers,
worthy.
right?
They're worthy, though, aren't they? They're worthy of a pick.
And it's making me wonder who are the the jewels, I'll call it that year.
That's the key. And also, Steve, the thing is, right?
Cy
When do you
Young.
wonder? No chance. Just get rid of him. That's my tone change immediately. My mood darkens.
I
Well,
want
yeah.
to get
Here's the
him.
thing. One thing I noticed with your strategy, I've watched you keenly, was you holding back that pick. And I'm thinking, well, what if I held back as many picks as I could and just built the team around best seasons, which are just as valuable
Yes.
as Hall of Fames, the same
Yes.
value. And then because then sweep up at the end, because you're going to find Hall of Fames in every season. So I'm thinking, well, just hope it's their best season. But then it's I think it's more a case of how's the draft going? Are people going to
Yes.
the Hall of Fame to hold back? And that's what you did. You held back. You just didn't get the guy you wanted,
Well, and
but
if you
you
think
did
about
hold
it,
back.
so yeah, some of the seasons I got lucky with Gooden and Mike Scott, like in the first 5 to 8
Oh,
rounds. So I really was for now. I don't know if you remember, my very first pick was 1937, and I wanted to not take a Hall of Famer because I'm not a big fan of Ducky or who was it, Medwick, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I saw that
No.
Jim Turner for his rookie season had the
Yeah, I heard you
highest
talking about that
ERA
last
plus.
night.
I
Yeah,
took Turner because I now let's think about that. If I didn't get those years for Mike Scott and Bob Gibson and Dwight Gooden later, Jim Turner may have been one of my better pitchers.
he would have been.
And so I
It's
early on I'm like, do I grab this guy who's a hidden jewel with the kind of year he had there, which was an anomaly? And it it, it didn't pan out that I needed it because I got better, but when you look back, it looks like a wasted pick.
but the thing is, you're always going to have those picks anyway because there's just some players just not going to get in. We pick
No.
a roster of 25, extra 5 players, including 2 Negro Leaguers, if I remember correctly. The Negro Leaguers did not perform as well, nowhere near what I was. Satchel Paige never got used. I don't think Satchel Paige threw one pitch. I
And
think Josh Gibson was the best one so far that I've seen.
yes.
I think my guys. I mean, I had 2. I must admit, I was really pleased with them, but they weren't the best of the
It
bunch.
almost makes me think that when we get to those rounds, I don't know how much work I give myself. It almost makes me think if I go and undo, because I was trying to come up with the 3-year approach for
Yes,
peak and all that stuff, right? If I go and undo that and try
maybe
to
that's what it was.
and, and,
Yeah,
and try to
yeah.
weight it back more towards where some of these people are being used for a single season, and that would require me to extrapolate out a single season versus a combo of 3 of the
I think
best.
that's right. I think that's
um,
right because
and
they
and
did not
and, and
perform.
it, they could be bumped up slightly. So it makes me think for some of the better players, I could go back there and recreate a card for them.
It's a lot
Um,
of work, though, Steve. To be
it
honest,
is a
it's a
lot
lot
of
of
work,
work.
but it's almost would be better if
It would
we
be.
just drafted the players in the 2 rounds. So that means in the league, if there's 10 teams, that means there would be 20 players, and then I could just focus afterwards on retweaking those 20 to be more
Yeah,
representative of a single
yeah,
year versus
definitely.
3. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because they definitely underperformed.
Correct.
Whereas all these guys are in their single seasons. The League
Exactly.
Leaguers were in slices. Yeah, I agree, and
But
it
but
brings
I,
it
I don't
down.
want to do all the work for the entire
No,
pool.
no,
I would just say,
no.
trust me, you draft your person and realize they're going to be slightly better because I will
Yeah,
unravel the 3-year approach down to a single year, and um, just rest assured they'll get a little uptick. But that way, if we save it till the end, I've got 20 players to do versus 200.
do you know? Do you know what was really interesting from looking at all of the sims I ran? What you've got on screen, it was sorry, not on the screen, but when you did your league, where was Babe Ruth?
Let's go take
He
a look at
doesn't
what he
show
did.
up.
Here's the guy we want. Look at the rating. Look at this 1901 Lajoie right here.
Yeah, not bad.
209
Yeah, not
OPS.
bad.
This is a you must expend a Hall of Fame selection if you have it.
Oh, look at Cy Young this year.
I didn't
1901
I
and
didn't think you want to
972
look at
hit.
him.
No, well, I had to double look, double take it. What? Cy Young has a 972 whip. That's kind of attracting me, but still, I don't think he'll perform well anyway because of the fact
Yeah.
he's a hit machine. He just gives up too many hits, and statistically, I don't know what the ratio in his pitch to hits is, but it doesn't look good. Looking at it, he doesn't give up many home runs. On the other hand, he doesn't walk many. He's got great control, decent, Ks. He's got great control, actually. That just goes without saying. But is he going to give up too many hits, and people are just going to run around him? Which I think is exactly what's going to happen.
That's a good point.
But who knows? That might be the best Cy Young I've seen so far. Because the one I've got is not this one. Is his
So if
doppelganger or
I
something?
go, so let me go to my ERA plus list. Let me
Christy
clear
Mathewson
it.
didn't do well either.
I'm going to select all. I'm going to tell you that if I have to go for, where am I good friend Cy Young,
Yeah.
I would go with, I have 4 seasons that my um,
Do you
machine
like them?
tells me that I've got him ranked here. The
You got
first
him.
season it
The
says, oh,
machine.
it's this one. Hey, this is the number one
That's
season
what I was
for Cy
saying.
Young. He has an adjusted ERA plus of 219. The second season I would go with him would be 1908, and then 1892, and a distant fourth would be 1902.
He's just the
This is his
machine's
best year
broken.
statistically.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. As soon as I saw it, I thought, "Oh, this must be it. The missing year." Because everything else is just not anywhere near what I'd expect. Christian Matheson has a better set of years, I think, than he does, and Cy Young. It's just the era he pitched. He was just better than everyone else in the era he pitched for longer. But actually, statistically, it's where you call his black ink, I guess, that would be his best year. And
226 OP. They even have him higher than I've got him at a 219 adjusted. So he gets adjusted down with
it's two
what I'm
two
doing a
six
little
something.
bit. But yeah, that's outstanding.
It is. It is. You have to say that definitely is. I can't argue with that one.
In
Sure.
fact, if you would like to hear, let me take a look. I might share a little bit of my
Your
sausage
machine.
machine here with you. Let's see. We have
I couldn't
best
think of these
year.
guys.
Ooh, and I'm talking about best year for adjusted ERA plus that I have on my radar of anybody. Um, and I had him on my team, by the way.
Yeah.
And he's a non-Hall of Famer. He's the
Right.
highest
Yeah.
I have for anybody with significant innings, and that's 1914, Dutch Leonard.
Yeah, but Dutch Leonard does perform pretty well. To be that's one person. I think it was Bicluda as Dutch Leonard. Somebody does.
I had him.
Is he? Oh yeah,
He
he's
was my
really good.
reliever. He was my long reliever.
Yeah, he's good. Jimmy Shacker's quite good in that year.
Another Hall of Famer, if we're looking at straight adjusted ERA that's off the charts, even
Yeah,
ahead of, I know Beatles isn't going to like this, even
of course.
ahead of Walter Johnson's 1913. You may disagree, would be 94 or 95, Greg Maddux.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think Greg Maddux is awesome. And in most of his years, he never even made the league.
No,
Maybe that year didn't get called. I remember he got called in one of my picks, but I couldn't pick him. I'd already
I couldn't
wasted
pick him either. I
Cy
got
Young.
95 and took Albert Bell.
Yeah, I mean,
The best
it's not
Christy
exactly.
Mathewson year, according to me,
Yeah.
1905.
What spreadsheet is this you put together then?
It would be a
Did you
little
get away?
spreadsheet. It would be a little spreadsheet like known as this, where I can look at. I've got a formula for the adjusted ERA here, and
Yeah,
then
I'm
I
looking
can
at that. Yeah.
filter it by year, and then the player's
Jeez,
name. And now,
Steve.
some of these are innings pitched that irrelevant, right? There's like partial seasons in here, so or not a full-time player, right? But this is what I like. So if I can go
Yeah.
and hit my year, like if we throw a year out for pitchers, let's say I don't know, it's 1960, 1955. I can
Well,
see the only one with my criteria that's high is look at this. That would be Billy Pierce, a 200 adjusted
he
ERA. That's a guy to look
does
at.
have a great season in one of the seasons, 55.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because he's on my notebook. He's definitely there as well. What's the PEVA rating, Steve? Because I came across a website, beautiful website. I'm convinced you had it as well. Because I'm sure you put it in the Discord at one point. I didn't check, but it's called PEVA. What does it stand for? Do you know?
No, I don't. It's
PEV. I'm going to type it into my Google. PVEA baseball rating. Great site. Baseball, and I had it up on screen as well. Yeah, it's called the PEVA Baseball Ratings Index on StatGreekBaseball.com. Yep, perfect.
Stat
If you
Geek.
put
Okay,
it on the
let's see
screen,
what we got.
it's really good. Stat Geek, and as a geek, I thought, well, I've got to live here, haven't I? It's awesome.
Best ever list.
It's
Best
called
ever batting seasons. Let's look at that. That's what we should be
yeah.
looking at.
Well, yeah, this is what I had, and I thought this has saved me a lot of time.
It is. So
But
let's
I
take a
did,
look at this. I
yeah,
show based on my stats, I would put 1920 like out of Babe Ruth. I have 1920, then 1921 is the seasons based on the ratings I look at
yeah,
that I would find the most valuable. They're claiming they're claiming they're using some other value that may now mine is just straight from a batting side, right? This may be
Yeah,
including
mine's from
everything.
the game. But you mentioned Fred Dunlap. What season is he from? 1884. He played Major Leagues and Association. So we go into 1884. Yeah, he's first. Look at that.
Oh,
He is
really?
first on the Pepper ratings. Yeah, 1884. There he ahead of King Kelly, Cap Anson, and Dave Orr. So you're right, Steve. According to this measurement or this metric, Fred Dunlap is the top batter in the 1884. It's good, isn't it?
This is a great site. So I'm gonna bookmark
And I
this.
thought you knew this, and I thought,
No, no.
Steve,
Now it makes me wonder if I look at that. If now this would be important if it's going to bring in some extras, right? Other than just what I'm looking at from the batting
yeah,
side. Like I'm looking at OPS plus is my main thing to just get my head straight on that combination of getting on base, power, and total bases. All that to me is the to me that's the most important thing for overall batting, right? But this,
here's this is pretty good. This is pretty good because it confirms what you said earlier about Guy Hecker, 1884. He's top pitcher in that league in that season. In
mhm.
fact, let's go to 1985.
So
We just
where
called
are
it.
you at the Piva site and you're just typing in the years? Where are you at? How
So
are you?
I'm at Stat Greek Baseball, and I'm
Yep,
at home. At home, so it has the top 20 by year. So it has
yep.
Pepper Ratings Index, so it has pitching and batting. And what it's saying is it gives a top. Let me see your screen and see what you're looking at. If you go back
Oh
to
yeah,
your
here we
home
go.
screen,
Peva ratings index. This is it.
this is it. Yeah. So your screen looks a little different to mine for some strange reason. Your Yeah, that's the screen I'm on right now. That's it. So if I go to 1985, I mean, aren't we sporting? We're broadcasting all these wonderful tips, you know.
1985. Okay.
Right? So I'm at 1985. We both see there's Goodman and Tudor, exactly
Yeah.
on the pitching side.
And batters.
Brett
I can go to
Saberhagen.
batters.
But look at Good's Pepper is so much better than Tudor's because I couldn't separate them really
Hey, they don't
on
like
whip.
they don't like Guerrero, and you know why? This is probably a better indication because Guerrero straight bat in his hand, right? But he's rated below 5 at several positions, which means you're getting no real value. You're losing value in the field.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So that's probably why this is. And here's another player I just think is about worthless overall. I shouldn't say worthless. He's just
Is that?
overrated. In my opinion is Dale Murphy. But hey, they for this one season, 85, he's might be a good choice. Not Hall of Famer. Non Hall of Famer, you got Mattingly and Murphy right here that are going to be higher than Guerrero. Guerrero has better OPS numbers, but
Uh,
look at this. FV. I'm wondering what FV is.
FV
Is that fielding?
fielding value.
There you go.
That's what my brain tells
Oh
me.
my God.
But
Why am I doing all this? Why have I got all these spreadsheets over here? MV.
see, so the funny thing was, it's great that we've done this, but we've just given away all the
Oh my
secrets.
gosh.
We've just
Hey,
blown the cover
but
off.
somebody will have to spend an hour plus with the patients to dig through to find the one nugget we came up with.
Yeah, but still, this is great. But then it still comes down to choices of building your roster because okay,
Yes,
what
because
we've
you
done
can
is
have this
shared.
list, and if it's late like this, who cares? Like let's say I go, hey, I've got a first baseman, and I'm out of Hall of Fame picks. Um,
Then go down the list.
so now maybe
That'll
it's Murphy for
be
me. Maybe for somebody else, it's Willie McGee. Remember you mentioned Willie McGee? If you need a
yeah,
center fielder, you're going to take him. Um,
Murphy. Yeah, gonna take Dale Murphy or a pitcher.
Look at this, Dave Parker, 85 seasons. So yeah, so now we flip over to pitchers. This is nice too, because if you're under the gun, you can go toggle back and forth quickly.
Yeah, it's a great site.
And
I
to
found
your
it
point,
on
MV,
Drfat.
if you have
Mm,
action fired up to get the specifics on what positions and
yeah,
the ratings, at least this tells you
it tells
that
me. Yeah, it
okay,
does.
they're a good fielder. Now let me go to my action and figure out if I can get, what are they ranked for on a shortstop or whatever, right? You could,
Yeah,
but this is a good starting point.
as
I just
people
spent a
said, you
bunch of
can get
time
more.
for nothing. What
Well,
was it
it's all
for
part
nothing?
of the it's all part of the journey, isn't it? We wouldn't have done this broadcast. This what came out of the
Oh,
broadcast,
look
and
at this
everyone can
Piva.
watch it. It's
So
interesting as well. Pepper
1880s.
Piva, and then
Piva
it's even got the best
1884.
hits ever. Oh, I don't agree with Jim McCormick. See, where's Cy Young?
Best ever. Oh, Amos Rusi in 1894.
That would be great to have a Hall of Fame tab on it.
I've always said this, and I've mentioned it on some of my earlier broadcasts.
Maddox, 94.
Looking at the straight numbers in the park that he pitched and in the era that batters batted what they did, Lefty Grove, that 1930, I know that's a top 10. Carl Hubble, I've also mentioned him. The numbers that they put up in the batting era, um, there's 1901 Cy Young. Hey, there's my
Jesus.
Hal Newhouser, 1945 Newhouser I
Yeah.
had.
Well, DeGrom doesn't make it there, does he? You can go to the next one, best pitching season 21 to 40. It does just underneath it, the red tab underneath. It carries on the list. You see?
Yeah, keeps going. Oh, here's
It goes up to 100, actually. And on draft night, I had this, but I was convinced you had it. I said, damn it, how's he getting it so quick? I think he's probably got this.
well, let me see if it will allow me to do this. Maybe I can make it. Let's see if I do best batting season 1 to 20.
Yeah, well, we'll do on to 100.
Oh,
Does best team, Steve. It'll help your slicing and your slicing. It's everything except for the Negro Leagues, of course.
let's see what it does here, MB. Oh, yes, it does what I wanted it to do. I can
Mhm.
take those lists and
I'll
put
put it
them
in your
all
spreadsheet.
into a
In
spreadsheet.
fact, I'm going to do exactly the same thing.
Oh, boy. Thank you.
Talk about rabbit hole, Steve.
But now you can go and get the top 100 overall seasons
Easily.
and have them, right? If you think about that. And then actually, you could grab each season and look at the top people and drag them in, and then create a big one, and then put your own filterable things on there, right?
Let's
So,
try it here. Let me throw a year at you. See
okay,
if you would have been any different. Here we go. Random number generator using that
now,
list.
and to use the list, use the website.
Yeah, use the website.
Okay,
1912. You got choices there. 1912.
okay.
And
So I
I'm going
go
to make it more difficult.
1912 pitchers.
When you pull up the screen, I'm going to make it more difficult.
Okay,
I put a 5. 1912. Okay, good. Yep. Okay, so you need a right fielder.
okay. I got Joe Jackson or Ty
So
Cobb.
straight away he comes right. Says easy to do.
Joe Jackson or Ty Cobb right here.
Okay, let's make it more difficult. They're
Okay,
taken, and every Hall of Famer is taken, so it has to be a non-Hall of Famer.
Chief Myers
There you go. But again, depending if you want to
or Chief
platoon.
Wilson. I think it's Chief Wilson that's the right fielder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chief Wilson. Yeah, what's a chief?
But
What's a chief was?
this gives me a starting point to
A
look.
starting
But I
point. Yeah,
still
it
think you
does.
come here and we say, what year was that? 1912.
Chief Wilson was in my Ned McGreevy team.
You
Right
almost need to
field.
hire a secretary or an
Yeah,
admin
yeah, yeah,
assistant
yeah.
so that they can pull up while you're doing that at that site. They can come in here to go 1912 and pull up the database
Yeah,
because
yeah,
now we can look at the field.
yeah,
And it takes a while to load, right? So we're wasting valuable time. Here's batters. I
yeah,
want rating and value. Oh, it's still populating. Come on, it's working.
yeah. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's working hard. Rating,
And
value.
all of this was available to me on draft night. I thought I drafted pretty well. Considering the years I drew, had I had the 19th century knowledge I do now, I would have done better with the draft.
So
I
let's take a
definitely
look
wouldn't
at
have
here.
picked Cy Young.
Shoeless Joe. So now we're going to go non-home run. Dot, 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 dot. Oh, look, Clue is here. So here's
Oh,
some Dode Pasker. Yeah. So we can. This is a good. But to me, right? There's value in at least a few things. So
yeah.
we will be toggling back and
You
forth.
better show Clue the website because they'll go crazy if he finds out
Oh,
you've got
you
it.
know what we need to tell Clue?
Well, find it yourself. It's a great site, Clue. We've been doing
Stat
it for
Geek
how long
Baseball
now?
Clue, because what you've realized is you can go right here, say it's 1910, okay, 1916, and you're going to get the PIVA rating, which is including a little bit of a fielding value. And
Yeah,
this was matching. I had a little chart with my OPS adjusted and all this. This is a great starting point. You can toggle back and forth between pitchers
yeah.
a little quicker than Baseball Reference. Um, for first glance. But
Oh, he's
Big
got
Clue,
food poisoning.
let's show
Sorry to
Big
hear
Clue
that,
what
Clue.
we're saying.
He's gone down with food poisoning.
Big
Bless him.
Clue, we've got to correct this issue, and MV has me agreeing. The Joe Torre situation, when we go over here and it says Hall of Fame manager in parentheses, we can't count them against the player because we're able to see right here Hall of Fame manager only.
Yeah. And that is
Clue's
important.
been
Joe
down
Torre
with
said.
poisoning. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
is there going to be an ID Discovery Dateline episode or what's going on? Arsenic and old lace, what's happening?
Well, I hope you're on the recovery, Clue, anyway. I think this has been a great broadcast, actually.
Oh,
For
we've
geeks.
yeah, this is living up to the baseball geek squad for sure. So we've helped each other out with hopefully with some things here.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely. I mean, the puzzle thing, the Piva thing, like I said, I was convinced you had it, so I didn't really mention it. I thought, he's ahead of the game here,
I'm making
Steve.
my own.
Yeah, well, you've got your own. I knew you had your own
I was
stuff.
trying to make a wheel that was a little rounder.
So what's Clue say? Yeah, only MLB players elected to the Hall of Fame as players count towards. Great, because I think that was mixed up on the night.
It
It
was.
should be, yeah, because it should
But
be
the
Joe
problem was
Torre's
maybe with
allowed.
Joe Torre was that we were counting him against somebody's Hall of Famer, and he's only in there as a manager. So
Yeah,
going forward, if it has the man of
it's only Joe Torre it really affects anyway. Most or John McGraw's never going.
correct, but here's the
Yeah,
deal
yeah.
with Clark Griffith.
He's another one, isn't he?
He's in there only as a pioneer or executive.
Charles Committee. So we did not count him as a Hall of Famer. That's what Clue is saying.
Yep, and the other one is like John McGraw. He's not in there as a player. He's in there only. Baseball Reference only as a manager.
Yeah, it's funny if you go back to draft night, there was definitely an issue with Joe Torre, but at least in this one he will be allowed to play.
Charlie
And John McGraw
Comiskey
will be allowed to
played,
play.
but Hall of Fame pioneer executive. If it has something in parentheses, that means they're in there for another reason.
Yeah. Yeah, Clue, I agree with you on the Clue says if someone isn't responsible for their own research.
I already predicted that Clue would be like, why are you giving this? Joe Torre will not be allowed to play, he says.
Oh, so he's not playing.
No, Joe Torre can play.
He can play, Clue.
I think somebody wanted to take him, but they couldn't because they might have already had 5 Hall of Famers, and I think there was a discussion as whether we would count him, and we shouldn't have counted him as a Hall of Fame player because he has the manager that's manager only. Yeah, and like for example, Bill Terry was a manager, but when you type Bill Terry, you'll notice Hall of Fame as a player.
No, yeah. Yeah, he agrees
with
it. Clue agrees
yeah,
with
and that's what we found out, Clue, because I think that was it's like, okay, well, to your point, right? Torre should count as a non-Hall of Famer as a player because he'll have and Baseball Reference should be our guiding light on that because they're putting in parentheses anybody that's in there for a reason other than they're playing will be in parentheses.
Yeah, I think you get what you're saying, Clue.
Correct. Yeah, he won't be used as a Hall of Famer. Yeah.
But not be. That is correct, and the same applies.
Another good situation here would be Sparky Anderson. Yeah, manager only.
Yeah, but no one's going to pick Sparky as a player, are they? It's just not going to happen. John McGraw might. I mean, he was good enough. But I think those were the burning questions. It was about him, and it was about we know about draft night. What was the other one? I'm just glad you saw this Pepper thing as well, then, because anyone who watches this is going to be in for a treat because they're seeing. We talked about so much strategy, but again, we both agreed, Steve, that we're still looking at things a little differently, even though we kind of
as it moves on.
Resources,
the first few rounds, while we still have Hall of Famers, it's wide open, right? We don't have any limits on ourselves. But as we get on, if I look back at my draft, I got Jim Turner. Let's go look at 1937 as an example, and I'll tell you what I was thinking. Clue took Alan Trammell. That turned out to be an all-star player in our league too. That should be.
That was a good pick.
That should be noted, right?
Yeah, Clue knows his stuff, doesn't he?
Well,
Allegedly.
as far as he knows. Um,
Allegedly.
so best batting seasons. Let's say, how did you find the year? What am I looking at here? Oh, player ratings by
Yeah.
year. So that we could go into batting and let's say 1930. Well, I'll just look at 37 pitching.
Mm. That's the one.
So
That's the
here's
one.
1937. So I took Jim Turner.
Yeah.
And why? Because when I looked at him, I like, man, he had an ERA plus that was outstanding, and he's not going to count against
Yeah,
the Hall
he
of
would have been the
Famer.
third.
And
Who's the
round
guy
one,
again?
I'm like, I don't let me grab him now and save my Hall of Fame picks. Well, later I got lucky and got Dwight Gooden, Mike Scott years that made my strategy stupid
Interesting.
looking back.
What is the PVE, PIVA rating, PEVA rating, whatever it's called? In that season you're looking at there, who's the second guy? I can't see the list too well.
Cliff Melton.
Who's he? You see, that one went under the radar.
Let's take a look at the year. So what I would have done here.
I would have looked him up straight away.
Well, here's what I will show you what I would have done. So when we were drafting the other night, I go to 1937, and then I would take a look at batting. Okay. And then I came down to the players, and I'll just come over here, and my first thing I like to look at is OPS plus. So I would have
Yeah.
hit OPS plus, and then rule out. I'm like Joe Medwick, and I'm like, do I want to waste a Hall of Fame pick on Joe Medwick? And I thought,
Mm.
huh. I got Lou Gehrig there, and I thought I was being cute by coming over here to pitching and seeing who do I have, and I'm like, look at this. I'm like Jim Turner. I'm like, ooh, this guy can start 30 games for me, and he's got an ERA plus, right here. So
Well, that guy I just mentioned, Melton, is it? Whatever his name is. He doesn't show up on that list.
he's
We've
there,
got
right
Jim
here.
Turner.
Yeah, he just had
Further
he was
down
right below him in
further
the
down.
lefty. This would have been a better pick.
Yeah, he would have. Yeah.
I outthunk myself. But after I got pitchers, I
Yeah.
look back and go, that was a wasted pick, and then I regretted not taking Medwick. Because
It's so,
near the end I needed a left fielder, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm missing a left fielder. How am I going to get one?
and again, another variable that we don't put into this is the ballpark because that's going to make a big difference as well. I already know Ebbets Field because I use it in Nebogreevy. I use it here as
Yeah,
well.
so let's
You
go
showed me
to
how to
advanced
what if.
batting.
Yeah. What page is that on Baseball Reference? The year, standard pitching.
Yeah, I just go right
okay.
to the year and then start looking at this. So let's go to
And what do you
advanced
find
batting.
OPS plus on there? OPS plus on there? Interesting.
Yeah.
I love the PEVA. I've never heard of it before. I don't know how famous it is, but it looks pretty sharp. It even has best seasons in there, Steve. Like for best teams.
Yeah.
Awesome. And awesome.
Let's take a look at OPS plus here. If you want to look at, there's 1937 OPS plus, right? And then you can there's adjusted OPS that pulls some things out of there, but PIVA is right in line with it. And what I like is at a quick glance, it's giving you some value in fielding, right? It's telling you, okay, if we look at batters in 37, it's saying Gehrig and DiMaggio over maybe Medwick because of fielding, but it gives you an idea that fielding is at least being included in the overall rating.
I
But
like it.
then it's like, let's go to 1937 if we have the season, because what you've been doing is important to drill it down a little further because
with my reports, I look at the
how many
fielding,
positions can they play? I mean, there's other value built in there. So if we
and
go to
that's
the
what it is for
database,
Nebogreevy for sure, because I definitely use that method of the reports with the fielding. I wish Beetle still has the file. I hope he still has the file. I think he said he was deleting it. Don't do it. Back it up. Back it up.
oh yeah.
Big Clue says the Peaver book I was just mentioning. Peaver's not famous, but I can order their book if I'm interested. Okay. I hope it's on Kindle, Big Clue, because I'll definitely do it now. I was fascinated, but I put it aside. I just thought, Steve knows he's got that advantage. I'll have to take him down another way.
And look what it's so now if you search it, you see the same characters, but you come down and you're like, Johnny Mize is a guy to get if you don't want to. Mize and Camilli are the ones to grab if you don't want to expend a Hall of Famer, right? And then right away you can see right here, well, do I need a second baseman? Yeah, there's Gehringer. Okay. So to me, it's still a combination of that PIVA is a great place to start or Baseball Reference. And then the next drill down
Yeah,
is
it's
if
here.
you want to spend the time and you've got the action file, you can start digging into that to see how many
Yeah,
positions they played, although, and the ratings, although on Baseball Reference, if you're looking at somebody like Medwick, over here, you're seeing with the position numbers, you kind of get an idea of what their main position was and what they can play.
yeah. All right. Well, I'll definitely go back
So
to the
much,
Kiva then.
so much, so much.
Yeah, nice one, Steve. It has been
It's been fun. So
fun. I can't believe I've done statistics for like 2 hours. That's been
it's fun. So
great.
I'm going to run and get some lunch now, but now I'm like, I feel
Yes.
like, okay, at least mentally, I watched your thing that you recorded yesterday. And I thought, oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. He's getting ready. We knew, Beatles and I, last night that you were deep in research. And today I said, I've got some time. What am I going to do?
Well, it's gonna be how well we use the tools we've got now, because we've got the tools.
We've got the
As Big Lou,
tools.
as Big Lou said, why? As we said before you came on, Big Lou, you probably said, why are you showing everything? It's just how you use it at the end of the day.
Big clue. If anybody, nobody's going to start caring about all this stuff if they haven't cared before. That's what I'm.
Yeah,
If you
true,
haven't been
true,
doing
true.
research before, you don't have the time or interest in doing this, you're not going to do it all of a sudden. So I mean,
Yeah,
there's a couple quick tips here, but like Beatles, I don't think any of this digging in deep interests him. To me, he's very attached to players and his knowledge of
yeah.
them and the history and all that, right? So I think he's operating straight off of 1902. Let me go see who's there, and then it's identifying
The
players
person.
that he connects
Oh,
with and
oh,
knows.
where's Honus? That's it.
Where's Walter Johnson?
Where's
Where's
Walter
Honus?
Johnson? Ah, Beatles was brilliant. Right, okay, I'm gonna have some dinner now myself. Got
Yeah.
to check out the scores and soccer. I
Well,
think a big clue is he says
yes, he
Beatles is
is.
operating off Lloyd Wayne is an all-time great. Right, Steve, I will leave you to it, and you can do your usual ending.
Hey, it's been fun, and we'll see everybody down the road.